What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Art of War. We have a super exciting one here for you today as we are going to be discussing the brand new Grey Knights Codex teleporting in directly into our minds.
Yeah, this one's a favorite of the both of ours. We've been running Grey Knights this entire edition. They've been this cool, like, warp-around-y, teleporty army. They got a bit of a damage buff, you know, with the hallowed ground mechanic.
Oh, yeah.
But let's see what they can do in the new book.
Absolutely. I'm excited to dive in here. If you are joining us, please do give us a like, subscribe to the channel, and tell your friends about us. All of that massively helps us grow. In addition, leave a comment below letting us know what you're most excited about for the new Grey Knights book. And then, finally, if you want to hear more content from us, especially about Grey Knights, guess what? We're going to be having plenty new games with Grey Knights, as well as some deep dives on new list ideas. Check out the War Room at thewarroom.vhx.tv. In addition, you join our awesome international Discord community where there's a Grey Knights channel, and Jack and I are certainly going to be in there talking about all of our new ideas. So what better time to join than now?
For sure.
So hopefully you're as excited about this Grey Knights review as we are. Thank you so much to Games Workshop for allowing us to review it. And let's go ahead and dive right in. All right, we're going to start off with the organization here. We're going to do the army rule. We're going to go through the data sheets. And then we are going to look at the different detachments, kind of give our opinion on which ones are going to be the most competitive and the ones you're going to want to be thinking about. And then we're going to kind of give our overall thoughts and how we feel about the book heading into the new meta.
All right, let's dive right in.
Let's start off with the Army Rule. This is going to be, it's changed its name here. It has become Gate of Infinity, one of their old psychic powers.
Ooh, I loved Gate of Infinity back in the day.
It was absolutely classic, especially when you failed it.
Or failed to get it back in 7th edition.
So Gate of Infinity here is going to be the Army Rule. And depending on which type of battle you're playing, for a normal Strike Force game, which is 2,000 points, it is going to be 3 units at the end of your opponent's turn. You can pick them up, put them into reserve, and then bring them down as needed in your next movement phase or whenever you want.
Yep, this one, it changed. It used to be you had to bring them down right away because it didn't actually put them into reserves. It just said pull them off the board, drop them back on. But here it changed. They go into strategic reserves. They can stay there for as long as you want. They can stay there, then rapid ingress at a later time. That is a pretty sizable change to
quite a
the
buff,
quality of life buff for the units.
Absolutely, because Grey Knights are a big beneficiary of rapid ingress. They have a lot of deep strike units, and as soon as your opponent starts wearing thin on a particular area, you just keep pounding the pressure.
Absolutely.
So going to be 3 of those units, and I think this is a great army rule. Teleporting armies are very strong. It works on Dreadnots, works on any infantry units. It's basically how Grey Knights have always played.
Yep. You get the Dreadnots if you want to put some shooting pressure on your opponent, and then you can pick up infantry units if you'd want to like start rapid ingressing them, or you need to do some secondaries around the board or something like that.
All right, well, let's go ahead and dive into some of these data sheets.
All right, first up, we got Grandmaster Volis.
Old man.
He's very similar to how he was in the past, right? He's still -1 to hit for his unit that he's leading. And every time his unit is selected to fight, you pick an enemy unit in engagement range and roll a die. On a 2 through 3, they take Immortal. On a 4 through 5, they take D3. On a 6, they take D3 plus 3. Not the biggest deal there. And it's when you're selected to fight. So that means it's part of your normal damage. It's not like a weird addition.
Yeah. It used to have a bonus if you were demons. It was +2, right?
Yep. And now it is not. And a lot of things in the game were demons, and you get the bonus against like the Avatar, for example.
Yeah.
Angron is a demon, things like that, but no longer. He does have a weird shooting attack. He has Searing Purity, which is D3 +1 shots at 12-inch range at strength 12, AP2, damage 2, devastating wounds.
It's cute.
Which is cute. And then he has the Malleus Argyrum, which is 5 attacks at strength 10, AP2, damage 3 in combat. He's okay. I mean, the nice thing you can say about him is that because Grey Knight Terminator units bring models back, your opponent is very punished if they don't wipe an entire unit. What better way to try and help make them not wipe an entire unit than by giving them -1 to hit?
Yeah.
So that's what Volis is helpful for. I still don't think he's going to be very good for basically the same reason he wasn't very good in the past, which is that he's kind of just there.
Really, when you want a leader, typically you want those Grey Knight units to punch up in their damage because they're already quite defensive by themselves. Stacking defense is a good way, but we really need offense out of our units for the most part.
Yeah. And he does hit in combat, but he's just kind of there, and that's not what you're paying points for. Grandmaster, they finally fixed his his free strat. It used to be once per game, one Grandmaster could use a stratagem for -1 CP. Sure. I don't know why it was once per game, but it stayed the entire edition. But now it is once per battle round. You can reduce the cost of a strat by 1. That's very helpful.
Fantastic.
CP economy is pretty big, especially on units as large as Terminators. You'll be able to use this a lot. And then once per battle at the start of the fight phase, he gets +3 strength and attacks to melee weapons equipped by him. So he gets 8 attacks at 922 instead of 5 attacks at 622, which with a damage buff, pretty solid.
Yeah.
Pretty solid.
And we'll have to see if there's some combat enhancements that we could slap on him to really enhance his damage.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you lost Ignore Modifiers. Ignore Modifiers, very, very, very good. Very good. But the free strat access that actually works now, as well as the fact that if you give him a damage enhancement, he can actually crack in combat, which is something that Grey Knights aren't used to doing. I'm willing to roll with it.
He honestly might come down on points as well because of that change.
He might. Stay tuned till the end of the video. We'll commentate on them.
Yep.
There's a Grandmaster in Nemesis Dreadnot. A new model, right? New model.
He has an official upgrade sprue.
He has an upgrade sprue, but don't worry, you won't be using very much of it. If you don't have the upgrade sprue, you're probably still fine. Every time this model makes a melee attack that targets a monster or vehicle, you reroll the hit, wound, and damage. It used to be one Grandmaster could reroll the hit, wound, and damage. Now it's all of them. That's really good.
Boss mode.
It was really good in the past. It continues to be really good now. You get into combat with something big, and the Grandmaster will just flip it. And that's something you really need, especially if you come off a rapid ingress, shoot some things to death, charge a big tank, kill it. That's very scary, and your opponent has to be big time concerned about these guys.
Yep.
And then once per battle round, one model from your army, same as the Grandmaster, gets to reduce the cost of strat for free, and this is value.
Yes.
it's on a big boy, right? So any strat you use on him, free rapid ingress, oh man, it's going to be just money.
Free reroll charge if you happen to fail it and coming out of reserve. It's a big deal.
A regular Grandmaster is like a weird upgrade to Terminators you don't necessarily need. But Grandmaster Nemesis Dreadnot, you're going to have that basically all the time, and that is going to be a free strat economy that's going to just keep on chugging. So, big fan of that. What I'm not a big fan of are the new melee weapons, Siegs. The new melee weapons are a gigantic swing and a miss.
The mace and the flail.
The mace and the flail. So, for comparison, what you're going to take here is still the Great Hammer. You're going to take the hammer. The hammer is the best one. It's not particularly
Strength
close.
14 access, D6 plus 1 damage, high AP. It's everything about it is good.
Yep, it's 5 attacks at 14 AP3 damage, D6 plus 1. Hits on 3s, not 2s. That is okay, though. The Nemesis Flail, cool weapon. Looks dope. Richard really wanted to build it.
I really wanted to put that on the model.
But it is 10 attacks at strength 5, AP1, damage 2.
What? Strength 5? Are you kidding me out here? This isn't even as strong as a power fist? Are you kidding me?
I mean, even...
It's a giant freaking flail.
AP1? AP1?
Insanity.
It's just terrible, unfortunately. And then the Nemesis Mace is 5 attacks, same as the hammer, at strength 6, AP3, damage 3. Anti-character 2+, though.
You give me,
Precision.
like 8 to 10 attacks, and you increase the strength to like 9-ish, around there. All right, I'm thinking about that. That'll beat up an elite infantry unit. What is this roll?
I don't know. 5 attacks is kind of crazy. If it were like 8 attacks, I could see it because it'll wound like knights on 2s. It'll wound like any infantry unit joined by a character on 2s. It'll wound any like big vehicle character, right? Any kind of tank commander.
Because it has the anti-character 2+.
Yeah, or like Angron or Mortarion will wound them on 2s. The problem is 5 attacks, right? Like at worst, the Great Hammer wounds something on 3s. Like, and is D6 plus 1 instead of 3 damage? No, you take the hammer.
It's so disappointing because both of them look really, really cool, but I don't think we're going to be seeing them until they get an edit.
No, I don't think so. The mace is the closest one to being viable, I think, but it just needs more attacks.
Yeah, for sure.
I could even get by on strength 6, and you just go after characters and just snipe them out. But also, you reroll wounds and damage against monsters and vehicles, right? Like
you're going into big targets. You need big damage.
You need big damage. So I don't stand by that. But you do have a different gun. So you have the heavy side cannon is exactly the same as it was before. 6 shots at strength 10, AP2 damage 3, ignores cover. Very good gun.
It kept the balanced data slate changes to have ignores cover, which is pretty important.
Which is huge. That gun, incredible. Very, very good. There's the Gatling silencer, which is just as disappointing as it was before, especially compared to the heavy incinerator. The Heavy Incinerator is still 2d6 shots at strength 6, AP 1, damage 1 with ignores cover. But then you have the Sublimator.
Ooh.
And the Sublimator is 2 shots at strength 9, AP 4, damage d6, melt of 4, 18-inch range, twin linked.
Yeah, so it's a 2-shot melt of 4 weapon. I genuinely think that you'll probably take it because, once again, his main damage is trying to kill those big targets, since that's where he's getting the rerolls. Obviously, he's twin linked on this gun, but you're going to have incinerators on all of the heavy incinerators on the regular Dreadnights if you're running them. I think you just take the Meltas here and we just add extra anti-tank up front. I
could see the argument to still taking the Heavy Incinerator just so you have some horde clear. But the Sublimator does speak to me on I want to do 10 damage on one shot goes through, and my opponent's like, how much damage is it? 10. Like, oh, no.
I think because of his role of killing those elite, monster vehicle type units, I'd rather have that spike potential.
He also can very easily rapid ingress, run up, smoke a vehicle in shooting, very easily, actually.
Yeah.
And then smoke a vehicle in combat. And just, what are you going to do?
That's a man right there.
That is a man with a plan. All right.
So I think he's one of the most upgraded. I think he's quite upgraded here.
I think he's
previous.
He didn't change fundamentally, but he got some very, very nice quality of life stuff. The free strat is just great for your CP economy. The fact that you can take multiple of the big boys and still get full rerolls to hit and wound and damage against multiple targets is really good. And the Sublimator is an interesting way to tech his shooting if that's what you're looking to do. So I'm expecting we'll see a bunch of these guys going forward.
And we'll have to keep an eye on enhancements out here to see if there are any good ones to put on him.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
All right, next up is Castellan Crow. He is going to be a similar profile as before, but his datasheet rule has changed a little bit. So first of all, he still has Champion of the Order of the Purifiers. So if he's leading a Purifier unit, he's going to give them +1 attacks to Purifying Flame. And Purifying Flame is going to be Strength 4, AP2, 1 shot. His is a 3-shot weapon. Still hits on 2s. And
AP2 is new. It used to be AP1.
Yep, AP2 ignores cover. Anti-infantry 2+ still.
That's nasty.
It is very, very nasty. Now, against 2-up save units, you are actually just putting them to that 4-up invuln or whatnot. So they're actually pretty good into Terminator bodies now. Yep. As previously, they were okay into them.
They were fine, yeah.
And then his basically reduced damage to 0 has changed to Foresight. Each time the model makes an attack that targets a character unit, you can reroll hits. Which, for a guy who hits on 2s, would have loved this to be reroll hits and wounds, personally.
I mean,
as
but
a lot
if
of
he's in
champion
Purifiers, he rerolls wounds against objectives, which is something
That's
we'll
true.
see. And then hitting on 2s is great until you roll 3 1s or 2 1s. And you're like, oh, what? So he essentially does reroll hits and wounds a lot of the time.
Yep.
Which is pretty neat.
Yeah, maybe there are some ways to give him sustained or whatnot, but he still has the Black Blade at 5 attacks, Strength 6, AP2, 2 damage, and it has a precision dev wounds. So he's okay. I really didn't think he needed to go up to 90 points in the 2 updates ago, so hopefully he comes back down a little bit, honestly.
Yeah, I think he's pretty interesting. I think Purifying Flames, EP2, is like a pretty serious stealth buff to that unit. Now they just fire like a machine gun, right? Because if you put him in a 10-man, that's 24 shots off that, and then 44 shots off the Storm Bolters. And then they go in and they blender in melee as well. Like, that just erases infantry units.
I'm excited to see it. Then we have the Brother Captain. So his rule is Hammerhand. While he is leading a unit, they gain lethal hits. I believe he used to give his unit sustained.
The Brother Captain used to give sustained, yes.
Yep. So they've switched him to lethal. And then his second ability is the Eye of Judgment. Pretty much all these abilities have the Psychic tag as well, if that'll come up. Each time this model makes an attack, you can reroll wounds. So he personally is going to be rerolling wounds, which is a nice little
he still only has
damage
4
buff.
attacks, right?
Still only has the 4 attacks at 6/2/2, but potentially there might be some enhancements where that matters a decent amount. And then the infantry, Terminator, Strike Squad style weapons, the Silencer, Psy Cannon, and Incinerator are all exactly the same. So I was really hoping that the regular Psy Cannon would give ignores cover as well, like the heavy one. It just really needs that AP boost or reduction of cover to be able to punch into targets. So I think that's a pretty big miss. We've seen effectively the infantry units don't do that much damage outside of combat. And I would have liked to see more diversity of being encouraged to take those special weapons. You mostly just take the Incinerator because it'll chip off wounds here and there.
Yeah, and even then, I wouldn't take Incinerators in like the Strike Squad, the power armor units.
Where you have to give up the combat.
Because you give up the combat weapon, because they're just not that great. The Psy Cannons, I think, needed to gain Ignor's cover. They didn't.
Yep, they didn't, so unfortunate. Then we have the Brotherhood Champion here. So the Brotherhood Champion used to give his unit Fight First, which was a good ability, but it was on mostly Strike Squad because you weren't taking him in a Purgation Squad. And so his rule has changed. It is going to be while the model is leading a unit, that unit is eligible to declare a charge in a turn in which it advances. So you get advance and charge. Once again, it's on strikes. I really wish we could just put an Interceptor backpack on this man and just have that unit yeeting into your opponent's side of the board. And then his second ability is Inspiring Exemplar. Each time the model destroys an enemy character model in the fight phase, you gain 1 CP, and until the end of the battle, +1 to his attacks characteristic.
Does it have to be him or his unit?
Each time this model.
Yeah, because I know that the Master of Executions is okay with his homies killing the character, and he'll still get the CP. And that makes it a lot less awkward. But having this 5-attack dude try and kill a character with no rerolls is a little sketchy sometimes.
Yeah, it's not going to be a consistent play. Really would love to see them keep the Fight First on here and add the Advance in Charge. And then I might actually be thinking about Strike Squads doing something instead of just a defensive role. So he could be ludicrously cheap. For instance, a lot of the new Chaos Cult books, especially a Master of Execution style character, are at a very low cost point. So if he does drop to that, maybe we do end up seeing him there. Advance in Charge is a great role.
Yeah, Advance in Charge is very good. The problem is doubling a unit's cost is usually not worth adding, extra D6 inches to the threat range. If he's very cheap,
60 points, something like that, could be interesting.
We can revisit that.
I think he benefits significantly from the change to Gate of Infinity, where you can stay in reserve, which means your opponent's backfield isn't quite as screened as much, but it's screened as best they can. Now you have a rapid play, Advance in Charge, you take away their home objective with this relatively cheap unit. Yeah, I could see something like that. Then we have the Brotherhood Librarian.
This dude's cool.
He was one of our most expensive characters because he had Vortex of Doom and could pump out a random amount of mortal wounds.
Oftentimes to himself.
Oftentimes he could hurt himself. And he has changed his role a bit here. So first of all, he gains Vortex of Doom as a psychic ranged weapon instead of as an ability. And it's 18-inch range, D6 +3. It's blast and psychic. At strength 8, AP2, 2 damage. That's a pretty solid upgrade.
That's a good gun.
That's a good psychic gun.
Hits on 3s?
Hits on 3s. Mm-hmm.
It's a solid gun.
So in something like Warpbane, it's pretty easy to get him just re-rolling hits.
Yes.
And then you're going to have the Sanctic Hood. So while the model is leading a unit, models in the unit have 4 Pain against psychic attacks. So he's still a great anti-Thousand Suns or Demons type of tech piece. And then he's haloed in Soulfire is his other psychic ability. While the model is leading a unit, that unit can only be selected as a target of range attack if the attacking model is within 18 inches. So it is 18-inch lone up, kind of like the Exalted Sorcerer in Thousand Suns. And this is actually, I think, pretty interesting on Terminator, so I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, 18-inch lone op is not the same as 12-inch lone op. It is.
That was very strong.
That's 12-inch lone op, very, very good. 18-inch lone op is okay. But it's, as you said, very good on Terminators. It's very good on a unit that can hold an objective very well. Like, you don't necessarily want to charge them. You have to get in range to deal with them. And their shooting is quite sizable.
I think it's especially impactful when Grey Knights are an army that likes to attack a particular flank and then leave something else on the far side of the board. If you leave something that's as durable and 18-inch lone up as Terminators with this Librarian, is your opponent going to ignore all the threat you're putting in front of them and go deal with this? Probably not. It just gets to exist, gets to hold those objectives.
Yep. And sometimes there are boards where the objectives are wide in the open. GW Layout 2, for example, can be quite open. And you just get to tag up on your objective and you say, hey, if you shoot me, guess what? You're going to get shot back because I will deep strike my Dreadnights right where my unit is and shoot you back.
Yep.
And that is really strong. And the fact he comes with a gun and he no longer removes, D6 wounds off his own unit anymore is really sick, actually.
Absolutely. So I think this is a very interesting change to Libby. And if he goes down a bit in points, now that he's not on the roller coaster ride of how much damage is Vortex, how many mortals is Vortex going to do, I think he's quite a good character.
I mean, I've had turns where I go, all right, if I do an average amount of damage with Vortex, I'm going to be totally fine here. But if one of my Libbies just eats his own, Vortex of Doom, and the other one does like 2 damage, this is bad.
It's not great.
This is really bad now. That's just not going to happen anymore. You're not going to be leaning on him. Yes, you can't do those mortals anymore. He has a gun. It's decent. Against some targets, it's better. Against other targets, it's worse. But he's not going to be warping his entire identity around, hey, do I do 6 mortal wounds this turn? Do I do 12? Nobody knows. Do I do 6 to myself? Do I kill myself? Like, I'm sick of that dude. And we have a new dude, and he's the same name, and I like him a lot better.
Yeah. He's a more consistent, reliable thing that should be worth less points, and I think he'll fit into more lists. Yes. Maybe only run one of them with that Terminator Squad, but having that flexibility, especially against a long-range army, if you play on Dawn of War boards, for instance, 18-inch loan-up is a godsend.
Well, I remember playing against your librarians, and you had 2 librarians, I think, just kill Be'lakor. Just. Oh, yeah. I think it was like double 6, and then bang, gone.
I was not messing around, Jack. I wanted Be'lakor straight back into the warp, and I did not relent on that.
Yes. But I've also experienced turns where they just double ones. One of them's dead, one of them's at 2 wounds, and you just like lose the game off that. So okay, not riding that roller coaster is crazy.
We got 2 more characters here. One is the Brotherhood Tech Marine, who has effectively become the Space Marine Primaris Marine because he's gained those type of weapons. So he gained the Forge Bolter, which he previously didn't have, and he has a grab pistol. And then for his melee weapons, he doesn't quite have as many extra attacks as he previously did. He has his Omnisci Axe and then a Servo Arm extra attack. So the combination in Warpbane, where you put the enhancement on him to get every successful wound is a mortal in addition, you're really relying on having like 4 extra attacks out of nowhere.
Yeah.
So he's a bit less powerful in that particular circumstance where you would see him. He's still going to be a lone op within 3 of a Grey Knight vehicle, and then he's going to give out that +1 to hit to a Grey Knight vehicle and can heal them D3 in the command phase. His new rule is not buffing servitors, as I imagine servitors are not going to be in here, but we'll find out. Instead, he is a guardian. He's Guardians of the Machine. Each time an enemy unit ends a charge move within engage range of 1 or more Grey Knight vehicle units from your army, and within 6 inches of this model's unit, you can target this model's unit with the Heroic Intervention stratagem for 0 CP, and you can do so even if you use Heroic already. What are we doing? Are you kidding me? I'm gonna get to Heroic my Tech Marine? Any other rule would have been better than this. Are you just absolute insanity?
He repairs tanks still, right?
Yes, he does the +1 to hit in the D3. That's his rule. This is a joke, and if they charge something that's scary enough to charge into a Dreadnot, which is the most common vehicle you would see, you're probably not heroicing the Tech Marine as well.
Yeah, I mean, yes, the Tech Marine just like biting at their ankles, just trying to bring them down. Just not going to work.
No, so that's bizarre, but that is what it is.
I mean, his number 1 use is to repair vehicles.
Be a lone op.
But man, I just don't think you can take him.
No, I doubt it. And then the last one is the Brotherhood Chaplain. He was a pretty interesting character because he was very cheap and he gave his unit +1 to wound. But his other rule is complete garbage. Let's see how they change the Chaplain here. Zealous Path. While this model's a leading unit, you get to reroll charges. So no longer a +1 to wound, which is a huge debuff in my opinion. That +1 to wound was very good.
Yeah, you're just not going to take this guy anymore.
Litanies of Sanctity is going to be once per battle at the start of any phase. You can pick a Grey Knight unit within 12 and unbattle shock it, which is a useful like tricksy ability to have. But frankly, he's even worse than he was before.
It's a useful secondary or tertiary ability. Yeah. Like, oh, by the way, did you know my guy? I don't need to roll the battle. Like, I can roll the battle shock check. I don't need to auto pass it because I can unbattle shock myself if necessary. It's like, okay, that's neat. But yeah, no, this is quite poor.
The Crozius is still only AP1, as Games Workshop likes keeping those type of things consistent, but it means he has the worst weapon in combat.
Yeah. Rerolling charges is just something that can be a CP when necessary. Every single army has access to 1 CP reroll charge roll. So rerolling charges as a rule is like fine. It's just not great.
It's not great. So I think him and the Tech Marine, no surprise that they were towards the bottom here. They are definitely not the winners here.
No, for sure. This list. And you know who else isn't the winner? Mr. Not appearing on this list.
We did not mention him. He was the first character listed on the data sheets in the index. He's the Supreme Grandmaster Kaldor Drago. He is not here at all.
No, he is.
He's a fine cast model.
I have the old metal one, see?
Old pewter one, yeah, I had him too. So unfortunately, he is not in this book, which is very sad because he had 2 of the best data sheet abilities for a character that Grey Knights wanted, and he's just not going to be here. So It means you save some points on a character. He wasn't that cheap, but man, he was a very good Terminator tech piece.
He was very, very good. Also, he's compensated for a little bit by the fact you can put your units back into strategic reserves. Grey Knights kind of had a problem in the past where you could pick up your melee units, largely, and drop them back down 9 away, but there's that kind of like that bubble preventing you from actually interacting with your opponent properly, where you had to just go for a 9 if you want to do anything, and you just wouldn't do that, right? That's
super
a good, reliable game plan does not have any room for, I'm going to YOLO some 9s at my opponent. So you wouldn't do that, which meant that lifting up and dropping down just was not good enough to get into grips with your opponent. Drago was the way where you could actually have that initiation off the drop. Now you can at least hold them in the sky and then rapid ingress them down and use that to get in on your opponent, which is probably fine, right? Like, I don't want to necessarily pay 125 points for that job, but I was going to do it because otherwise I have no other way to do it. Now I have another way to do it. I would still have taken Drago, though.
Yeah, absolutely. So, unfortunate that he's not here. He is obviously the main named character for Grey Knight, so I would not be surprised if he gets a new model in the future. But for now, we're going to be Drago-less and Supreme Grandmaster-less.
Yeah, he's iconic, man. He was the character that everyone complained about back in like 6th edition, 5th edition.
Yeah, because he was wrecking Mortarion and all those demons, send him right back to the warp.
Anti-Demon 2+ do be doing that, for sure.
So he's not here. The other thing that's missing here is one of the things I was hoping for in the Codex, which was going to be Nemesis Daemon Hammers. Because it's an iconic weapon. It is not. I was hoping they would at least add it onto the characters, if not the units. It is not here. You still just have basic Nemesis Force weapons, which is nice for a modeling perspective. I hated changing editions, and I'd have to go and get all my warding staves and get my Nemesis falchions and whatnot.
Yeah.
That was very annoying, but I would have liked to see the hammer specifically come back. But it is not here.
Yeah, for sure. All right, first up, we've got the Terminator Squad. And their stat line stayed the same. They're still, normal Terminators with OC2, which is pretty huge because you can give them a banner, and you will give them a banner to go to OC3. And the way the banner works means even if you're battle shocked, you still hold an objective because you're OC1. And then OC3 Terminators are just as strong as they've always been. Very, very good, dimension to the unit. They still have 4 attacks at strength 6, AP 2, damage 2. They lost lethal hits on the charge. Instead, they got +1 AP against non-monsters and vehicles. So these are your infantry blenders. Yep. AP 3 is a pretty sizable deal. Playing with Sanguinary Guard, who basically have exactly the same profile, it's quite sizable, right, into other melee units. 2-up armor saves with Armor of Contempt would just bounce you otherwise. Yep. So that is quite good, and also applies to your attached character. So the unit can buff the character to some extent. It's a decent rule. Lethal hits was very helpful for trying to drag down vehicles, so I'm kind of sad to see it go, but this is a decent replacement.
Yep, and you do have the brother captain who will give you access to lethals if you do want it.
If you do want to pay for that, which you probably won't, but if you want to have a big dedicated, I bring down a vehicle unit, you could do worse, for sure. In addition, the Ancients banner, you can now take that alongside an incinerator, so you get 2 incinerators in the unit, which is the point where the unit shooting actually like cracks into like low toughness sort of targets. Yeah. Scouts,
cheap screens,
or any kind of 1 wound infantry, they'll pick up fairly reliably. And 2 incinerators is actually the point where you might overwatch against the certain targets. So quite happy about that. The Apothecary still doesn't have a Stormbolter, but he still brings a model back in your command phase, which is a very powerful ability. I'm a big fan of these guys.
And because they changed it as well, you can do it while you're in reserves. You can still add that model back to the unit.
Yes, yeah. They changed that about like 6 months ago, something like that.
So if you're staying in reserve now with Gate of Infinity and you put 2 Terminators up, 2 turns later, it's 4 Terminators.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's a real unit now. Oops. And you get to just drop in and go. So that's super exciting, honestly. Like the Terminator's got a very slight change. Lethal hits versus +1 AP against non-monsters and vehicles is very subtle. But the extra incinerator, very helpful. And they do the same role, which is a very good role.
Can you just confirm they didn't add the Narthesium to say while on the battlefield?
Yes, I can confirm that. It says in your command phase, if the bearer is not destroyed, you can return 1 destroyed model, excluding characters, to the bearer's unit.
Excellent.
Yes. So quite a solid unit. Great space holder. Was before, is now.
Still battle line?
Still battle line.
Yep.
Still battle line, so you can take up to 6 units if you really want. I think they're quite interesting, and the extra incinerator actually does change their output quite significantly. Paladins, on the other hand, changed quite a lot. They are OC1, not 2, so they're going to be OC2 with the Ancient's Banner, which is still respectable.
Yep.
Right? It's not as like, oh, there's 5 dudes on that objective. Oh, you're OC15? I guess that's your objective. But they hit a lot harder. So they hit on 2s in melee, right, which is a pretty sizable difference with 4 attacks apiece. And then every time they make a charge move until the end of the turn, add 1 to the damage characteristic of melee weapons equipped by Paladin Squad models in the unit. So you can't give it to attached characters, which is one of my favorite things to do, is to give characters +1 damage from the unit. Same thing in Black Templars. You can't do that anymore. Sad. But damn, Paladin Squads are damage 3 into everything.
And we don't have much damage 3. But all of a sudden, it's just, whoa, 1 squad goes in there. Oh, you have your 3 wound bodies, which are all over the meta. Bam, you're just dead.
You're just dead. You're Deathwing Knight. Sure, you're 4 wounds with -1 damage. I don't care. Damage 3 with 20 attacks off a 5-man squad that hit on 2s is ridiculous. These guys hit absurdly hard. And they still get 3 incinerators per 5 guys. So your little melee missile also fries a unit nearby. Has a really good overwatch, right? If 5 swooping hawks or warp spiders or fire dragons or whatever are in the vicinity and they move, bang. And yeah, they can turn off overwatch. They can only do that in one place. And not every army can do that. So this unit is very, very scary to be near. And it just hits crazy hard on the charge. Like I'm just kind of
It also got an additional benefit, which it didn't have.
Which I'm about to go into. It gets an apothecary as well. It brings models back.
It used to not have the apothecary, even though that was originally a paladin model in older editions. So now it has it, so you can do the same exact tricks with the Terminator unit as here. Your lower OC, but man, this unit is supremely upgraded. You don't have the -1 to wound if strength is greater anymore.
Sure.
But it's completely fine because you hit way harder.
Oh, yeah. These guys go in and they just kill people. And that is a role you really, really needed in Grey Knights. You didn't have that. You have things that can like drag people down. But man, between the Grandmasters and the Paladins, don't get into a fight with these guys.
Yeah, no.
Like, they will just rip you apart. And they heal. Oh my God, this might be my favorite unit now, just like in the game. It heals. It hits crazy hard. It has a bunch. Oh man. Oh.
Paladins are excellent, so I'll be excited to see them hitting the table again.
For sure. We'll see the points on them. Because I imagine they will go up with +1 damage.
Maybe not, though.
Maybe not. Who knows? But damn, man, these guys crack. And also, if we see any kind of damage buffs in any of the detachments, they take those really well, too.
Yeah.
All right. Next up, we have strike squads. They sticky objectives if you are standing on them, same as before. They still scout 6, same as before. They're basically exactly the same as they were before.
I'm glad they didn't change. We need a cheap sticky objective unit. If we lost sticky objectives, it would have been a huge problem.
Yeah, and for Grey Knights, cheap has a different meaning. For sure.
As cheap as we can get.
This is our cheapest unit, basically, and it scouts, and it stickies objectives, and that's fantastic. It can pick up, it get put down. It still can beat the crap out of other units, especially other marine-type units, so great unit to have. Purifiers here made a pretty sizable change. So not only is Purifying Flame anti-infantry 2+ ignores cover AP2 now, but also they re-roll wound rolls of 1 all the time and full re-rolls to wound against objectives. And it's not objectives you don't control. It's just if the target's in range of an objective marker, full re-rolls to wound. Considering they wound on 2s with Purifying Flames, it just means they wound on 2s re-rolling. That's kind of crazy. Yeah. Especially if they get the bonus shots off Crow, and then maybe they're in Warp Bane, so they full rerolls to hit. It's pretty gnarly. And then full rerolls to wound as well. I mean, this unit got stacked.
Yeah, and you can go ahead and get the special weapons on them as well, and get the shooting damage if you want to. So that's pretty solid. In addition, they were basically only seen in Warp Beam previously, but now I actually think you can run them in many different detachments, and we'll see what the Razorback and Rhino do to see if they can buff them even further.
Spoiler alert.
Yes.
Yes, they do.
The Razorback can.
Next up, we have the Venerable Dreadnot. Now, it moves 8, it's toughness 9 with a 2-up save, 8 wounds, and OC 3. In your shooting phase, after it has shot, pick an enemy unit hit by one or more of those attacks. Every time a Grey Knight's model from your army makes an attack that targets that enemy unit until the end of the phase, add 1 to the hit roll. That's okay. You can bring this guy down to like sight in so your Dreadknights hit on 2s. But it's not worth spending the extra points for him.
Yeah, he used to be an aura of reroll 1s to hit 1s to wound.
For infantry.
Yeah. I think the big upgrade he got is that he has Deep Strike now, I believe.
He does.
So previously you would have to strat reserve him and bring him in off the board edge. Now you can actually try and get him into position. I don't think he's really going to be competing too much with the Dread Knight.
No, he is not.
Next up, we have the Interceptor Squad. So these guys still move 12 inches. They got that speed. In addition, they have the personal teleporters. So in the shooting phase, after they shoot, if they're not in engage range, they can make a normal move up to 6 inches, and then they can't declare a charge. So they still have their shoot and scoot, which is good for like doing a screening move or just shooting the unit, getting back behind terrain. And then once again, they are kind of let down by the special weapons for the infantry units not being amazing. So they're just an all-around okay unit, but it's a 12-inch moving unit. So they give you the speed to go reach out, touch an objective if you really need to get there.
Yeah, and they still do have 15 attacks at 6/2/2, so they still crack if they need to go clear an objective.
Yeah, they kind of fit better in the Warpbane aggressive style, and potentially there'll be a new detachment that helps that as well. Purgation Squad, they no longer do the indirect fire. They got rid of that because they kept increasing the points of Purgation Squads because other indirect armies were being bad people.
Yeah. Hey, Purgations were fine, right? They had indirect and they had AP1 not ignores cover.
Yeah, cool, and you had to spot for them. You had to trade a unit. It wasn't the same. So now they gained Righteous Persecution. In your shooting phase, after the unit has shot, you pick an enemy unit that's not a monster or vehicle, and that is hit by 1 or more attacks. Until the start of your next turn, that enemy unit is pinned, and while they're pinned, they are -2 to move and to charge, which is a pretty decent debuff. It's not against monsters and vehicles, where you definitely would love to see something like that, since Grey Knights aren't really like a screening army where they're trading units to slow people down. So it's an interesting rule. It really, if there's big horde type units, like something like the 120 Primaris Crusaders that existed previously, this rule is crazy into that type of army.
Yeah, there's one problem with that. Basically, every horde like that now has like a D6 +2 blood surge, so you're giving them distance while you take it away. I mean, I'm not super impressed because the rule that I want on my infantry shooting unit is to have nothing to do with damage.
Yes, I want a damage buff.
A damage buff on AP1 not ignores cover. I'm not as big a fan.
This is what you want as like an additional special rule. Like Votan Berserks have this on a 4-up if they hit you with the indirect fire thing, but they have a whole extra rule that doesn't need to relate to this.
They don't need, that's not what you're purchasing them for. Whereas with these guys, that kind of is what you're purchasing them for, and I'm not willing to spend that.
And they're going to be at least 100 points. They've been like 120 for a while. This is not a unit that should be that many points.
No. 4 incinerators is still probably what you do. I could see a world where you like rapid ingress them in if they're cheap, and you walk up and you flame and you try and do stuff that way, or you deep strike them down and flame, but honestly, not really.
Pretty lackluster.
Yeah.
The Dread Knight, on the other hand, is not lackluster because he kept Indomitable Spirit, which allows him to shoot and declare a charge in a turn in which it advanced or fell back.
That is an insane rule. It was an insane rule. It is an insane rule, and it's going to continue to be an insane rule.
It's one of the best data sheet rules in the entire game, and luckily it's on our Dread Knight, so he is still excellent. I thought this was one of the ones that could be edited, and surprisingly it was not, so thank God for that. 3 Dread Knights is still going to be pretty common, I think, just based on the data sheet alone. And once again, the special weapons are the same as the Grandmaster, except you don't get the additional options the Grandmaster gets in his upgrade spree.
Yeah,
yes,
the additional options, yes. You're not tempted into making a mistake, is really what it is.
I would take the Sublimator sometimes on these guys.
Sorry, yes, the Sublimator. The flail and the mace.
No.
No.
So otherwise, he is basically the same, and you're probably taking the hammer instead of the sword. Then we head on into the Land Raiders. So the basic Land Raider is still the same thing. You make a normal move, you can make a charge out of it. Grey Knights teleport around. They don't want to spend a ton of points on a Land Raider in addition.
And the Land Raider still doesn't have Deep Strike, right?
It still does not, no.
So sad, no teleporty Land Raiders around.
Land Raider Crusader is the same thing. Same for the Redeemer. You can go ahead and make those normal moves and disembark and still charge. So now we have the Rhino, which did change. It has True Silver Aegis, which is an aura, while a friendly Grey Knights unit is wholly within 6. Wholly within is rare in this edition, so this is going to be a banger. Models in that unit have, what? Feel no pain 6+ against mortal wounds? Are you kidding me again? Okay.
They don't want you to take Rhinos.
The Tech
I
Marine
think that's what I'm hearing.
The Tech Marine rule is embarrassingly garbage. This is also embarrassingly garbage. At least the Tech Marine has other rules. This is silly. So you're just paying for a transport, a box.
Yes, the fact that you have to be... I mean, to be fair, the rule before healing a wound, whatever, equally as garbage, doesn't really come up. But... wholly within to receive a 6-up feel no pain against just mortal wounds is... Listen, if you've ever felt niche, just remember, there's a Rhino out there that... wholly within is crazy.
It's insanity.
I could see it being if you're just within, you get the 6-up against mortal wounds, and you still wouldn't take it. It's a 6-up feel no pain against mortal wounds.
If it was a 6-up pure into infantry, you're like, cool, this is a nice little benefit. I'll get this sometimes. But you wouldn't build your army around it.
Yeah, if it was a 6-inch wholly within for a 6-up feel no pain, you probably still wouldn't take it. If it was a 6-inch for 6-up feel no pain all the time, and you didn't have to be wholly within, then it would be really, really good. But it's wholly within for only against mortals. It's garbage.
This is bad. Razorback, though, has a updated ability as well. It used to, if you popped out and it hit a target, you get reroll wounds against it. Instead, with Fire Focus, in your shooting phase after the model is shot, you pick an enemy unit that's hit by the unit that disembarked, and then you get +1 AP. And that same enemy unit can only be affected by one such of these abilities. And that +1 AP is... pretty darn good because, once again, as I mentioned, a lot of our special weapons didn't gain Ignores Cover or additional benefits. So all of a sudden, Psy Cannons, you have a, let's say, a Purifier unit popping out with the extra Psy Cannons. Okay, Psy Cannons are going to be AP2 if the enemy is also on an objective. You're going to reroll wounds against them. Okay, we got some combos going on. Purgation Squad drops out and is AP2 Flamers on the Incinerators. Okay. This is, I actually quite like the Razorback, points depending. This is a good rule to help the basic infantry weapons.
Yep, and if you do take it in Warpbane, it does have the reroll to hit and wound Las Cannon, which is cute.
And Hunter Killer.
Reroll hit and wound Hunter Killer. Well, no wound, but whatever. It's solid. It's solid. We'll see how well it's priced.
It's been around 85 points, which honestly is not too bad for a transport vehicle with a good rule.
If it keeps the same price point, that's interesting. If it goes up, then you're paying like 250 points for that package. Wouldn't really want to do that. We'll see the points.
Yep. Then we have the Stormhawk Interceptor, which gets the +1 to hit against fly targets. It's still probably going to be costed out of the game. I don't expect them to just randomly decrease the points of these flyers. The Storm Talon gunship is +1 to hit against non-fly units and has a variety of weapons. So then the Storm Raven gunship, here it still keeps the -1 damage, which is a very good rule. In addition, it randomly just has the 2 better Storm Strike missile launchers than the regular Space Marine one, because ours are Strength 10 AP 3 instead of 2, and ours are not flat 3, they are D6 +2. So we can take a twin las cannon, we can take 2 of these Storm Strike missiles, and then you also get the Hurricane Bolter nonsense and whatnot.
If you take the heavy plasma cannon, which I actually think you do over the twin las cannon, instead of being D3 shots with blast, it's just 3 shots.
Just
with
flat
blast.
3 with blast.
That's how it was in the index too, right before this book came out. So they didn't change it.
Yeah, they just copy pasted over and didn't look at the regular Space Marine Raven. This is a lot better than the regular Space Marine Raven.
Yeah, you put this in
in Warpbane, it's quite solid.
It just blasts people apart.
What I'm looking for is there going to be a vehicle detachment here, and can the Storm Raven get any silly benefits? Because it is priced where you can play it in Grey Knights. You've only been able to really try it out in Warpbane. But if there's a different detachment here, we might see it actually come back. Because it shoots quite hard.
It is kind of crazy that it just has +1 AP and D6 +2 damage instead of 3 damage on its main gun.
It rips.
Okay. And it has +1 shot on average on its heavy plasma cannon for no reason. No reason at all. So, sure, I guess, I'm here for it, right?
So that's going to be the end of the data sheets. As mentioned, there are no servitors here. So there's no friendly little guys to join the Tech Marine, which is why they changed his rule. So overall, Drago, servitors are gone. Pretty much everything else is still here and standard. There's some nice upgrades. I think the regular Grandmaster, the Grandmaster and Dreadnot, Paladins are the biggest winners, I would say. So there's kind of a side grade for regular Terminators, and some of the data sheets like the regular Dreadnot and Strike squads love keeping the same. Purifiers are definitely upgraded as well, and the Razorback, I think, is better than it was before.
I think the damage output of this book, like on its base data sheets, is a lot better, which is something that
more flexible too.
Grey Knights needed.
It's more spread.
For sure. Yeah, you actually have some anti-tank shooting now, although it is literally just a sublimator. And then you have a lot better combat, man. And then your anti-infantry shooting off purifiers is, with Crow,
Gets nasty.
Gets really nasty. So we'll see what the detachments have to offer. Warpbane is still up for grabs, so if you want that full rerolls to hit juice, well, you still can.
You still got all the juice, baby.
You still got all the juice you can squeeze.
Yeah, and now you actually get to save the CP if your opponent's on an objective with the Warpbane stratagem for purifiers, because you'll just reroll wounds against them.
Yes, it is a bit weird that kind of double stacks. I wonder if they're gonna like change the strat because they already reroll wounds basically.
Maybe they'll give them +1 to wounds.
Maybe they'll give them +1 to. Oh, geez. Okay, sure.
I'm not saying let's make it too much worse. Let's make it damn good.
I'm just dude, 10 and Crow firing what 24 shots at full rerolls to hit, full rerolls to wound essentially, at anti-infantry 2+, AP2 ignores cover is ridiculous. Then you follow that up with like 44 Stormbolters, you just rip an opponent's army apart, and then charge in with full rerolls to hit and wound. Overall,
I'm pretty happy about some of the datasheet changes here. I think there's only a couple stinkers, mainly the Rhino and the Chaplain are kind of just what is going on. Yeah. Librarian's quite good now, too. I like him.
Yeah, the Purgation Squad also did not really enjoy having a non-damage boosting just datasheet rule.
+1 AP, ignores cover, just give me something.
Yeah, the infantry shooting options are still pretty anemic on the datasheet, so you don't take those.
Yeah, you kind of have to lean towards the Razorback dimension if you want them.
Yes. Okay, first up we have Brotherhood Strike, and this one's entirely about picking up and putting down out of Deep Strike. So the detachment rule is each time a unit from your army is set up using the Deep Strike ability, until the end of that turn, each time a model in that unit makes an attack roll, a hit roll, and a wound roll of 1. So rerolls of 1 to hit and wound on a turn you Deep Strike. This is a bit of a non-bow with combat because you can't rapid ingress and get this because it goes away at the end of the turn. Mm-hmm. You can get it on a rapid ingress into a heroic, though. You will get the rerolls of 1 to hit and wound. But generally, this is going to be for shooting, right? Dreadnots pick up, put down, reroll 1 to hit and wound. Okay, seems good.
Dreadnots needed more ways to reroll.
They did. Yeah, you have the Warpbane way to reroll. You have the Brotherhood Strike way to reroll. So let's see what the enhancements and the strats have to say. Because currently it's basically doing the same thing Warpbane is, but probably a little worse on the detachment roll.
A little worse, but reroll 1 to wound is quite solid.
It is very good. All right, Banishing Wave is the first enhancement. Every time the Bears unit is set up using the Deep Strike ability, roll a d6 for every enemy unit within 12 inches. On a 2 through a 5, that unit suffers 1 mortal wound. On a 6, that unit suffers d3. Okay. Blinding Aura. Each time the Bears unit is set up using the Deep Strike ability, enemy units cannot use the Fire Overwatch stratagem to shoot at that Bears unit until the end of the turn. If you really like going for 9-inch charges.
Yeah.
Purity of Purpose. Every time they're set up in Deep Strike, you can reroll charge rolls. Which, sure, I guess. While the bear is on the battlefield or in strategic reserves, you can use Tome of Forbidden Ways to add 1 to the number of units from your army you can select for Gate of Infinity.
That's pretty good.
Yes, that one is very solid. Picking up 4 units, especially because you pick up 4 of the Dreadnots, you can drop them back down, and you roll 1s to hit and wound. It's very good.
That one seems the auto take out of all of them.
Yeah, for sure. The other ones are just kind of anemic, honestly.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know. If they're really cheap, you'll probably throw them onto characters if needed.
True Silver Channeling is the first stratagem for 2 CP. In the fight phase, you pick an infantry unit that has not been selected to fight, and psychic weapons gain devastating wounds.
Oh, baby.
Yeah, it was okay before. You rarely found a way to fit it into your CP economy, but now your CP economy is much better. A lot better.
Those Grandmasters reducing the cost, and Paladins with +1 damage. There's some
+1 damage dev wounds hitting on 2s.
It's pretty nasty.
They do slap. They hit really, really hard. Combat Manifestation, 1 CP in your movement phase. You pick a unit from your army that's arriving using the Deep Strike ability, and you set it up 3 inches away from all enemy units, but that's going to be FAQ'd to 6 inches away, like every single other use of the strat is. So every other 3-inch Deep Strike changed to a 6-inch. This will be the same. Still pretty good, though.
That's in the balanced data slate if you're not familiar. Yes. So that is a very good rule. 6-inch Deep Strike, especially as it gets later in the game, getting behind somebody with a Dreadnought, opening up their backfield, big.
Yes, and it can be with a Dreadnought, which is the one you'll probably do.
Yeah. It's not infantry locked, yeah.
It is not. It's just a Grey Knight's unit arriving using Deep Strike. Purgation Pattern, 1 CP in your shooting phase. A Grey Knight's unit from your army set up using Deep Strike and has not been selected to shoot. Weapons gain sustained hits 1. Pretty solid.
Very solid. Very, very solid.
Especially if you can only get line of sight with one thing. Right? There's only room to drop 1 Dreadnought to see a target, and you need as much damage as possible.
You honestly might think about doing this on Crow's unit. That's pretty nasty amount of damage.
Okay, yeah, Crow setting up 6 inches away and then getting sustained hits is going to be
It's a lot of shots.
It's a lot of shots. All right, 1 CP in your opponent's movement phase just after an enemy unit within engaged range of 1 or more Grey Knights units from your army falls back. You pick one of those units and you can put it in strat reserves. That's very strong.
That is extremely strong.
That was the way I used Mists of Demos was when I would tag something, they fall back mists, right? And if they've ended a move within 9 of you, go into reserves or move, that's in a different detachment.
Yep.
But this is the most powerful way to use it, which is tie up on your opponent so they can't shoot you. Yep. And if they decide to fall back, you leave.
Yep. Get in there, charge, kill something, consolidate into something new, and then it's like, oh, you only move 6 inches. Well, you're going to end within 9, so I'm out of here. Yep. And I'll be back.
And this just skips the whole, they only move 6 inches part. If they fall back from you, you go into strat reserves.
Just period, yeah.
Just period.
So they can move 14 inches, doesn't matter.
I mean, it was a real issue that you'd tie up on somebody who moved 12, and they would just be like, all right, I fall back. All right, everybody else moves, and then I fall back outside of 9, and you're like, I guess I'm dead.
That's a detachment defining strat. That stratagem is extremely strong.
Yes, it is. It is incredibly, incredibly strong. It also applies if your opponent wants to fall back from one of your Dreadknights. They can also go into reserves.
This is something that probably, if we're going to do a top 10 stratagems, might end up just making it right in.
It very, very easily
that is very good.
Because you can really lock down a shooting army, right? You get in, you kill something, you tag something. They just can't answer that unit.
Nope.
They either stay in combat with you, can't shoot you. All right, they're not staying in combat with paladins. But if they leave, you go into strat reserves. And then keep in mind, it's strat reserves and it's still the movement phase. So you can rapid ingress right back down and do it all over
right behind
again.
The ruin. I'm in, baby.
Yep. So you just walk out of the ruin, kill something, tag something. They fall back up, immediately back down behind the same ruin, walk out, kill something, tag something, and keep the cycle going on them forever.
Yeah. You wouldn't get the rerolls if you rapid them back in, but they hit on 2s, so it's completely fine.
Yeah.
And
paladins are not going to be suffering in the damage department. Shining Veil, 1 CP in your opponent's shooting phase just after they've selected a target. Grey Knight's unit gains stealth, which is quite solid.
Yep.
And then Expeditious...
Less reason to run Voldis.
There's no reason to run Voldis, unfortunately. Voldis is Voldum. All right, Expeditious Exit, 2 CP, end of your opponent's fight phase. You pick an infantry unit from your army, and you can remove it from the battlefield and put it into strat reserves. There's a designer's note that says this allows you to remove a unit in addition to those removed using the Gate Infinity rule, which is fairly obvious, honestly. And it allows you to remove a unit within engagement range of 1 or more enemy units. So if they do stay in combat with you, you're like, woo, howdy.
So it is 2 CP, which is a little bit pricey, but with our CP reduction potential, there are going to be instances where you might use it.
Yeah, the fact that you can go into reserves when they fall back from you is pretty gross.
Pretty much like that is the best rule here, and it is going to define your CP economy.
I wasn't like super impressed with this detachment. Then I saw that and I'm like, all right, we can tie the whole thing together, right? Because you can rapid ingress infantry in, use that to hit your opponent, and then if they decide to start coming forward, it's like, all right, I'm going to pick up 4 Dreadknights. They're all going to get to see you. They're all going to reroll 1's hit and wound. I'm going to hit you with the Paladins again, and life's just going to get really hard.
I think this is kind of like the older style of Teleport Strike, where you're trying to use Mist to get into your opponent, kill something, tie more things up, miss, and recycle that unit and recycle the pressure that way. It kind of wants to play the same way, but you're actually rewarded for running a Dreadnought castle as well.
Yeah, and honestly, I could see running a 10-man Paladin unit and just as long as the cycle continues, there's actually nothing a shooting army can do about this.
Yep.
Right?
And you put the Grandmaster in there to reduce the strat costs.
100%. If they leave 2 units remotely near each other, and with 10-man unit, 40 mil base is 11-man unit if you have a character, there's not really much they can do, right? Like, you can charge, have like 7 models swing on 1 unit, and have 3 guys just like pile in around with the charge move and like tag a tank or something. And then, well, either that tank had better ice you top to bottom and you heal a model, or they fall back, and then 10 paladins just go into reserves and rapid ingress right back down for free. So that's pretty gross. That sounds like a lot of fun, actually.
Yeah, I think
I'm into that.
One of the biggest problems with Teleport Strike is Dreadnots were wildly inconsistent. So our main damage output units didn't really support the pressure we were putting on with the Terminator bodies. This detachment actually does that a lot better, I think.
I'm super into that. That sounds fun.
Next up, we have the Hollowed Conclave. So their detachment rule is duty before all. Grey Knight Terminator units from your army are eligible to shoot and declare a charge in a turn in which they fell back. So you just get fall back, shoot, and charge with your Terminator bodies.
But you can have up to 9 units of Terminators if you spam the heck out. It's not bad, because they do tend to have trouble like finishing things off.
For sure. Then we have the 4 enhancements. Eye of the Augarium is going to be once per battle round, the bearer can use this enhancement. If it does, you can target the bearer's unit with Fire Overwatch or Heroic Intervention for 0 CP, and can do so even if you already use that stratagem this turn with a different unit. I don't know what the obsession is with the free Heroic, free Overwatch that they're trying to jam in here. It's cute. Free Heroic is pretty good on Terminators, but it's not always going to come up. It's a pretty niche ability.
If you have the spare character to hold it, you probably will do that unless there's a better enhancement. Free Heroic means you're not ever going to be CP strapped for like heroicing in and taking an objective back or something, and then you just like don't have CP later in the turn. That being said, you can just spend a CP on it. It's not the end of the world.
Yeah. Inescapable Judgment. This is each time an enemy unit within engage range of the bearer's unit falls back, the bearer can use the enhancement. If it does, you roll a d6. On a 2 to 5, they take d3 mortals. On a 6, they take flat 3 plus d3. These mortals are considered psychic attack for armies that do have defense against that. This effectively would fit really crazily with the previous detachment, because you're incentivized to be charging in, tying up a bunch of stuff, and then when they fall back, you go in, but you'd also do mortals. Here, it's cute, but we'll have to see what the stratagems if they support that.
For sure.
And then Sanctic Reaper, Grey Knight Terminator model only. Add 3 to the attacks characteristic of the bearer's melee weapons. Now we can think back to the Grandmaster with his +3 strength, +1 attack. Okay.
Who can that go on?
Grey Knight Terminator model.
Right. So you're not giving it to a Dreadnot Grandmaster.
No. They did not allow you to do that. But you could put this on the regular one.
+3 attacks is pretty sizable. That takes him up to 8 attacks, and then when he goes mega mode, he goes 11 attacks at strength 9.
Yep.
That's pretty nasty.
That's pretty damn nasty. So I think that'll fit in with him specifically. And then Nemesis Rounds is the also a Terminator restricted one. Each time you target the bearer's unit with Fire Overwatch, you get to hit on 5s.
Wow. I don't care.
You're taking Incinerators, which are auto hitting, and then Stormbolters hitting on 5s. It's like, okay, I don't know what this obsession is with the Overwatch here, but it needs to stop.
Overwatch, heroics, it's like the basic stratagems. Like, please stop.
Please.
Heroic is a very good stratagem, but like making it free. Is like,
yeah.
Okay, cool. Thank you, I guess.
So the 6 stratagems here. We have, first of all, Giants of the Battlefield, which is a cool name. 1 CP. Fight phase. You pick a Grey Knight Terminator unit that hasn't been selected yet. Till the end of the phase, add 1 to the attacks characteristic of the melee weapons. Not bad, especially if you're running a larger squad, like a 10 Paladin unit. That's going to slam.
50 attacks at 6, 2, 3. Obliterating things.
Unending Fidelity is 1 CP. Your opponent's shooting or the fight phase, just after an enemy unit selects targets, you pick a Grey Knight infantry unit from your army that was selected as a target. Till the end of the phase, each time model is destroyed. If that model has not fought yet, on a 4-up, you get to fight on death. So it's 4-up fight on death. No additional way to make it a little more reliable, but still, once again, you have a bunch of decent damage Terminator bodies that would benefit a lot from this.
Yeah, I mean, it can help get around like an interrupt into some paladins.
Or a fight first.
Because you have the +3 you have the 3 damage flat when you charge. Having this on your opponent's turn is not necessarily as good because then you're damaged 2. But even so, it's still pretty nasty when you get it off.
Yep. 1 CP point blank purgation. Your shooting phase, you pick a Grey Knight infantry unit that hasn't been selected yet. Your Stormbolters specifically get pistol and twin linked.
Okay, twin link Stormbolters is hilarious.
It is.
You can pump out a lot of shots. I mostly think of like if Crow's in a 10-man, right? You just drop down twin link, the pistol part, sure, whatever.
Yeah.
I could see clearing your way out of a combat and then charging into something else being a relevant play pattern. So I'm not poo-pooing that.
Yep.
Also, twin linking like Crow's unit that's firing like 44 Stormbolter shots that have rerolls to wound is the point where any infantry unit in front of that thing goes to sleep. It does not matter. I don't care that you're possessed with T6 and 3 wounds. Like
getting wrecked.
Please take like 30 saves off the Stormbolters and like 20 saves off of AP2 ignores cover damage 1. Like
dead.
Yes.
All right. Next one is going to be grind them underfoot. This is 1 CP used in your charge phase just after a Grey Knight's Terminator unit ends a charge move. You pick that Grey Knight unit and select one enemy unit with an engage range of your unit. Roll a d6 for each model in your unit that is within engage range of the enemy. On a 4-up, they take some mortals up to 6. It's one way to do some charge mortals, which can be helpful in finishing off a screen and then attacking into the thing behind it with your pile-in, or just finishing something off that is quite durable. So it's cute. It's another way to pop mortals.
Yeah, which is neat. I mean, it could be nice to add some damage, yeah.
1 CP, precognitive strategies. Your opponent's movement phase just after an enemy unit ends a normal advance or a fallback move. 1 Grey Knight infantry unit from your army within 9 and not within engage range. You can make a normal move up to D6. The D6 reactive. D6 is obviously not quite as consistent as flat 6. Really would have been nice if Terminators got the flat 6 or flat 5.
Yeah.
D6 is going to be inconsistent. Still okay to have.
Yeah, this detachment feels a little lackluster, I'm going to be honest with you, especially when you compare it to the last one.
Yeah.
The mobility strats are less mobility full. The damage strats are less damaging full.
They're inconsistent, a lot of them.
Yeah, fallback and charge for Terminators is cute, but not really what I want to hang my hat on, honestly, here.
We got one more strat, Jack.
And also, their strat for twin-linked pistol and Stormbolters doesn't matter on Terminators because their Terminators can fall back and do stuff. The strat would make a lot more sense if they couldn't, right? They got damage buff instead, because then you fire all your Stormbolters, clear your way out of a tag, and then get to charge still. I don't know. It's whatever.
They got Shining Resolve as the last one. 1 CP, your opponent's shooting phase after they pick a Grey Knight infantry unit. Till the end of the phase, each time an attack targets your unit, if the strength is greater, you get a -1 to wound. So, that is nice on Terminators.
That's okay, and Terminators all heal, right? So if they don't kill you, you do heal. It's decent. I'm just not as impressed as I was with the first attachment.
Definitely. I think this is certainly weaker than the first one.
Next up, we've got Banishers. What a cool name. They're just banishing you. All right, every time a Grey Knight's unit from your army is selected to fight, that unit can take a leadership test. If that test is passed, you get either melee weapons that have psychic ability, also have sustained hits 1, or melee weapons that have psychic ability also have lethal hits, which is really cool, actually.
That's quite good.
This is essentially Dark Pacts. You can only use it in melee, but you don't hurt yourself if you fail. You're just
mortals. Thank God.
Better luck next time. It goes off on a leadership 6 on basically everyone. You can take a chaplain, but you're not going to be leadership 5.
In the unit, if he's leading it.
I mean, that's a pretty serious damage buff for a lot of melee that doesn't cross strength 6. And then you can get sustained hits on melee on like Dreadnots and stuff like that. So
this will add up.
It'll add up very fast, actually. All right, Enhancements. Sigil of the Hunt. Grey Knight's model only. Every time a model in the bearer's unit makes an attack in the shooting phase, reroll a hit roll of 1. I mean, I know where I'm putting that. On a Dreadnot!
Yay!
Yeah, unfortunately, putting that on a big Terminator unit is just not as impactful as putting it on Dreadnot. So this helps the Grandmaster because he'll reroll 1s to hit and shooting, and then, he's twin-linked on his Sublimator, and then he gets full rerolls to hit and wound in combat. So he's very efficient, very effective. Ephemeral Tome, infantry model only at the start of your shooting phase. If the bear's unit is not within engagement range, you can use this enhancement. If it does, the bear's unit can make a normal move of up to d6 inches, and until the end of the turn, the bear's unit is not eligible to declare a charge. This is very weirdly timed. It is beginning of shooting phase.
Yep.
Of your shooting phase, you can make a d6 move, but then not charge, but also only on infantry? I'm very confused. Any other timing would make so much more sense. Start of the shooting phase is the wrong time to have a fire and fade. It's like just a fade.
Yeah,
actually,
it's a fade.
It's a fade and fire.
It's a get onto an objective that you otherwise wouldn't, realistically.
Yeah, but it's in a character unit, which is like, well, am I throwing that away to go on an objective? I don't know. As I said, fade and fire are just not as impressive as fire and fade. So, like, I don't know. That seems weird. It's very weirdly timed. If you could still declare a charge, then it'd be like funny advance and charge. It'd be like funny haha, but you can't do that either. Very weird enhancement. 66th Seal. Grey Knight's model only in your shooting phase. Each time a model in the bear's unit makes an attack, improve the AP characteristic of that attack by 1. Probably still also on a Dreadnought, if I'm going to be honest with you. AP3 ignores cover side cannon, be hit in a certain kind of way. And then you might actually take a silencer on this guy.
Yep.
At that point. Who knows? There's a lot of options. You could put this on a big Terminator unit. You probably won't. AP1 not ignores cover. Stormbolters are essentially just Stormbolters. Yeah. But it's cute. You'll take that for sure, right? Pyre Soul. At the start of your shooting phase, the bear can use this enhancement. If it does, select one enemy within 24 inches invisible to the bear. It takes D3 mortals. It's all right. It's a free 8th edition smite every turn, which is cute. Again, if you're going to take it, you'll never guess who you're going to take it on. It's a Grandmaster as just a shooting platform. It's not bad, right? It's an extra just like, here, take some splash mortals before I start shooting you. So, yeah, the enhancements are all right, except for Ephemeral Tome, which feels like it's the worst mobility enhancement I've ever seen. They
wrote it and they were like, this is strong. All right, well, how do we restrict it? And then they just didn't really understand the consequences of that.
Yeah, it's infantry only. Otherwise, you definitely take it on a Dreadnought. It's whack. You just don't take it. It's the wrong timing for everything. All right, stratagems. Hexrot Reprisal. End of any phase, 1 CP. You pick a Psyker unit on the battlefield that took any mortal wounds this phase. It's the end of the phase, so you have to live, crucially. Then you pick an enemy unit that inflicted 1 or more mortal wounds on your unit this phase, then roll a number of dice equal to the number of mortal wounds your unit suffered. For every 2+, the enemy unit takes a mortal wound up to 6. So if they throw a grenade at you, you might catch it and throw it back at them, which is pretty funny. I mean, that's neat.
Yeah.
The main issue here is you have to live.
Yeah. So Thousand Suns are going to dump just crazy amounts of mortals into you, but you're probably dead.
Yeah, because they get to mortal if they're in Grand Coven. They get to hit you with 2 Doom Bolts, then they get to shoot you. And at the end of the phase, then you can Kamehameha those things back.
And you would do 6 mortals for sure.
You'll do 6 mortals for sure, but also they're psychic attacks, so they can pop 1 CP to get a 4-up Feeling the Pain. They probably won't. But like, that's weird. You have to live. I don't love that. If it was immediately after taking mortals, you could be like, Doom Bolt me. Do it. And then they hit you with the Doom Bolt, and you're like, you're going to Doom Bolt me again? You're going to do it? That'd be very funny. The fact it's end of phase is kind of sad. Yeah. Because most mortals come as your unit is dying, not as your unit is taking damage they will recover from. Warding Chant, 1 CP, your opponent's shooting phase or the fight phase, just after they picked its targets. 1 Psyker unit from your army that was selected as the target of 1 or more of the attacks gets a 5-up Feel No Pain against attacks with an unmodified damage characteristic of 1.
That's when I want it. Yeah.
These stratagems and enhancements are written so weird, man. It's like I want a 5-up Feel No Pain, Monkey's Paw Curls. I would like a D6 move in my shooting phase, Monkey Paw Curls. Like, this feels like I made a wish with a genie, right? Like,
yeah. It's like, haha,
I got
you're getting it, but not the way you want
it. It's only against damage 1, the thing Grey Knights are most scared of.
No.
Okay. It'll come up occasionally, but I don't know why they're all
Just
weird.
make it a 2 CP 5 of Feel Pain. Like, just done.
Yeah, I can reflect mortals back at my opponent. Oh, that's sick. That's awesome. It's end of phase, so you have to live. These are just so weird, man. Like, they feel so strange to read. Chaos Bane, 1 CP in your shooting phase. A Psyker unit has not been selected to shoot. Ranged weapons get anti-chaos 4+.
There's a lot of chaos in the meta, so this is relevant.
It is relevant, but like, you don't have dev wounds? I don't know, man. It's weird. It's just weird. Celerity. In your charge phase, a Psyker infantry unit from your army is eligible to declare a charge in a turn in which it advanced. Mm-hmm. That is very good. And that's just no qualifiers on it. It's a bit of a weird timing on it. Again, in the charge phase is a bit of a weird time to do it. It falls victim to like Lord of Deceit auras and stuff like that because you have to charge into them and go. It's not like the World Eater strat where you get to do it when you're selected to charge, which gets around those sort of things. But luckily, it is after you know if you've already rolled a 6 on the advance, so it probably on balance is better. Circle of Sanctuary, 1 CP, start of your opponent's movement phase. You pick a character model. Until the end of the phase, enemy units cannot be set up as reinforcements within 12 inches of that model.
Yes. Unit is very good on that. Model,
significantly less so. It's weird, again, qualified into not being as good as it looks. I really wish it was just pick a character unit even, and then you can make it so that your opponent can't show up. Now, luckily, character model is Dreadnot. Dreadnot got big base. So it's still a decent strat, but it is qualified almost to the point of not being a good strat, which is, again, the third one. Mm-hmm. But Dreadnots, you're taking Dreadnots in this detachment. I'm sold on that. And 1 CP, 12-inch deep strike denial on a Dreadnot Grandmaster is pretty good.
Yeah, it'll come up every now and again.
Yep. All right. Finally, we got Shadow of Anarch, which is Mists of Demos with a funny name. A worse name, in my opinion.
Yeah, for sure.
Hey, whatever. It's muttered incantation conjures a sympathetic shadow of the true darkness beneath Mount Anarch, through which the Grey Knights stride fearlessly to emerge elsewhere than where they began. Sure, it works. I don't know why they had to change the name, but whatever. Now when I say I missed, my opponent's going to be like, what? Well, actually, I won't do that because I'm not going to play this detachment, I don't think. But your opponent's movement phase just after an enemy unit ends a normal advance or fallback move, 1 Grey Knight Psyker unit from your army within 9 inches of that enemy unit that is not within engage range of 1 or more enemy units. Your unit can make a normal move of up to 6 inches, or if it has the deep strike ability, which most of them do, it can be placed into strategic reserves.
It's a great strat. This is by far the best strat here. It's one of the best strats in this book, I assume.
Yeah, I think it is the best stratagem we've had so far. Because it does the thing where if you fall back and you go into reserves, basically most of the time that's what it does. And then in addition, you can be on an objective and say, do you want to go near that objective?
I want to touch anywhere in the center of this board.
And then the biggest thing about this strat and the one in the first attachment is that if your opponent triggers it, you can then immediately rapid ingress into phase. So it is essentially a 2 CP strat that just teleports your unit across the board and then you just walk up and charge. It's very strong. Trust me, it's one of the strongest stratagems in the entire game.
We ranked it at 1 at a point in the edition.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised if it stayed there. But not probably good enough to save this weird, wacky detachment from its own qualifiers and rules, honestly.
It is a jumble of rules and doesn't really have a specific playstyle.
It doesn't have a playstyle, and a lot of its best rules just have weird riders that mean they don't work. Yeah. And, like, all right, sure, I guess I will just play the teleport one where I get real ones hit and wound, and you know what?
Or Warpaint.
I can go with that. Or Warpaint's very good right now.
All right, next up we have the Sanctic Spearhead. This is the vehicle detachment. Let's see how it performs. Each time a Grey Knight's vehicle unit from your army advances, do not make an advance roll until the end of the phase, plus 6-inch movement. If you remember, Dreadnots
advance, fallback, shoot, and charge. It's very good.
And in addition, until the end of the turn, ranged weapons equipped by models in the unit gain assault. So it means that your Grandmasters can also advance and shoot if you really need to. And at flat 6.
Okay, that's really good. That's really
pretty good. It's when you don't need to charge with them, and you're just shooting people to death. That's pretty damn good. If we also think about this is Grey Knight vehicles. So we could go ahead and take something like the Storm Raven here, and all of a sudden, it's actually quite fast. In addition, it can advance and shoot and get behind the staging point and blow people up, kind of like it does in Stormlands. That's pretty good.
It's pretty good. That's pretty good. Gives you mobility. Let's see if we can add any damage to this.
Let's see. Driven by Duty, first enhancement. Grey Knight Walker model only. Each time the bearer's unit piles in or consolidates, you get 6 instead of 3. Cute. Not always useful. Quickening Foci. Grey Knight Infantry model only. In your movement phase, each time the bearer's unit disembarks from a transport until the end of the turn, you can reroll charge rolls for that unit. Why do we have to reroll so many charge moves?
Why is it also out of a transport? Yeah, rerolling charge rolls as like a rule is pretty mediocre.
Very mediocre. Sigil of Exodus, on the other hand, are probably not going to be mediocre. Grey Knight model only, once per battle in your opponent's shooting phase, when the bearer's unit is selected as the target of a range attack, you can remove the bearer's unit from the battlefield and set it back up anywhere 9 inches away from all enemy units. If the bearer's unit is no longer an eligible target, your opponent gets to reselect, but once again, you can still do it if you are in combat, because it doesn't have the no engage range qualifier.
Yes, so I have played with this enhancement more than possibly anyone else.
It was one of our best index ones, probably the best one.
It was probably the best enhancement in the entire game, to be quite honest with you. Now, part of that was how it interacted with Mists of Demos, which is not in the same detachment anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, what you would do is, and you can do this with a Dreadnot Grandmaster too, is you would move a unit out. You could even deep strike it like in the middle of your opponent's army. If they move, you just mists out and nothing. You don't have to worry about it. And if they stay still and shoot you, they skip basically their entire turn because your unit just teleports away. That got increasingly harder to deal with as the game goes on. Now, you don't have mists, so that push and pull no longer exists, which makes it significantly worse. But what I found about Sigil of Exigence is you put that on a Grandmaster, let's say. That Grandmaster, because we've had Sigil for a long time, right? We had Sigil in 9th edition, where I played with it. Had Sigil in 10th edition, where I played with it. If you put that on a Grandmaster, about turn, I'd say 3, the Grandmaster suddenly becomes unshootable. You can walk it straight down the pipe at your opponent, and they just won't shoot it. Because by about turn 3, the board is cleared up enough, screens have cleared up enough, that if your opponent shoots him, he's going to go somewhere your opponent cannot, period, allow a Grandmaster Dreadnot to go. Because it'll be like 9 inches away from the nastiest unit in their army, and you just walk up and you just go bang and delete it, right? And take an objective that they need to be secure or kill units that they need to be alive or stuff like that. Been my experience, by about turn 3, that dude, if they shoot at him, he is completely, like, he just wrecks the game, right? The game ends, he just goes somewhere, free rapid ingress immediately, basically, and he goes over, he flips an objective they needed, kills 2 units they needed, and the game ends. Very, very strong.
Great enhancement. It's definitely going to be the best one here, I have no doubt. But we have one more. Spiritus Machina. Grey Knight Infantry model only. In your shooting phase, each time the bearer's unit is selected to shoot, if they disembark from a transport, till the end of the turn, each time model in the bearer's unit makes an attack, you can reroll wounds.
What is it with disembarking from transports here? I don't care. Yes, you can take up unit purgations and get it out of a Razorback and shoot the Razorback at the target and shoot the purgations at the target and take a character in that purgation squad, and then you will reroll wounds and be +1 AP. I don't care. That unit is like 350 points at that point and is just wildly not worth it. I don't care. Yeah, you're going through a lot of work to get 12 shots that hit on 4s at strength 8 AP2, not ignores cover. Sure.
Stratagems. True Silver Will. 1 CP, any phase just after a Grey Knight Psyker vehicle unit from your army suffers a mortal, you get a 4 Phenopane against mortal wounds. This is quite good against certain armies, like 1,000 Suns, for instance, where they're going to pump out a lot of different mortal wounds. It will help you.
That's probably where it'll end, though. A lot of the time I've found, like, I play with Custodes. Custodes, Shield Host has a 4-up against mortal wounds for a CP. And generally, it's not worth popping it because most of the time your opponent does mortal wounds in, like, little bits and pieces, right? Grenade here, a tank shock there. Mm-hmm. And if they spend a CP to do 3 mortals to you, and you spend a CP to prevent half of those mortals, you've both spent a CP, and you've still taken some amount of mortals. Not great, not ideal. And only lasts for the phase. Now, against 1,000 Suns, They set up their double Doom Bolt guy to shoot you, and you're like,
bring it on.
I know you want to do 10 mortals here, but that's not what's about to happen. Right? That's the time when you really want it.
Then we have 1 CP Abominus class targets. Your shooting phase or the fight phase, you pick a Grey Knight unit from your army that hasn't been selected yet. Till the end of the phase, each time a model in your unit makes an attack that targets a monster or vehicle unit, just +1 to wound. This is on anything, not just vehicles.
How many CP is it?
1 CP +1 to wound against a vehicle monster unit on any Grey Knight unit.
In any phase?
Any shooting or fight phase. So the Storm Raven can pop up 1 CP +1 to wound against this target.
Yeah, Paladins can walk up.
Paladins can walk up. Yep.
Yeah.
Grandmaster.
Yeah.
You're like, I want a full reroll hit and wound with +1 to wound. Cool. That's a great strat.
We'll pop that constantly.
There's the damage strat. All right, Armored Aegis. This is going to be your command phase. 1 Grey Knight Psyker vehicle unit from your army. You just regain 3 wounds.
Sure.
Not bad.
You use that sometimes. When is it? Your command phase?
Your command phase.
So you can essentially use this as an auto pass battle shock if it takes you above half.
Yep.
Right? And that's when you will use it the most. It's like, oh, my Dread Knight's at 4. I can either take the battle shock, or I can 1 CP auto pass the battle shock, or I can just heal up to 7 and not have to take it in the first place. Or on vehicles, if you are wounded enough where you're suffering -1 to hit, no, you're not, and you also healed.
Yep.
Which is very helpful.
Next up is Redoubled Assault. It's also 1 CP. All of these are. Your movement phase just after Grey Knight's vehicle unit from your army falls back. You get to shoot and declare a charge in a turn in which you fell back. So a Grandmaster can do this, or any of the other things. But your regular Dread Knights have this, so you don't have to use it there. You just get to use this on Grandmasters.
And fall back and shoot as well?
Fall back, shoot, and charge.
So if somebody ties up the Storm Raven, for example.
Yep.
Nope. No, they didn't.
No, they did
Sorry.
not.
It's 20 inches over there now.
It's a good strat.
It's a great strat, yeah.
And then we have 1 CP Force Wave. Your movement phase or your charge phase, you pick a Grey Knight vehicle that hasn't been selected yet. Till the end of the phase, each time your unit makes a normal, advance, or charge move, it can just go through terrain. This is pretty. Remember, you're flat 6 advancing.
Terrain, not models?
Terrain features.
Terrain features. Very helpful.
Yes.
Very, very helpful. Damn, this detachment cracks, dude.
Dude, the Storm Raven has fly, so it can just go yard without having to go up and down.
Yeah. The one issue I will say with this is it has the +1 to wound, and that's very good. It does not have a lot of ways to compensate for the fact you just hit on 3s with everything.
Yes.
So there is that. Now,
you take 3 Grandmasters for sure.
You take 6 Dread Knights for sure. Yeah. Like, that's not close. 6 Dread Knights was a good army before Warpbane gave them rerolls to hit, and it can still be a good army. These strats are really good. So
go through
the enhancements are
incredible.
Quite good as well. The army rule means everything moves really, really fast. So the fact it's not reliable on the hit rolls is probably for the best, because otherwise you're just going to murder everything. You probably are going to murder everything anyway. It doesn't matter. It's a lot of shots you're pumping out.
Last stratagem, Argent Wrath.
Oh, they have another one.
Yep.
Cool, yeah.
Your charge phase just after a Grey Knight's vehicle from your army ends a charge move. You select an enemy unit within 3 inches. They take a battle shock at -1.
Okay, that's not particularly
Each enemy
relevant.
unit within 3.
Oh, that's significantly more relevant.
Yep.
You charge in. If you can hit a couple different units with that, very likely you can shut off at least one of their interrupts, and then you start in a different place. So that means that you can really get around interrupt that way, or any defensive strats.
Yep.
It can come up. It's not as good as the other ones, but it will come up. It will come up in your games.
So this detachment, definitely a skewier version of Grey Knights. Like Jack said, 6 Dread Knights, 1 to 2 Storm Ravens, some Strike Squads. Probably going to run something like that. It hits hard. You get hit first by that. That's a lot of damage. 0
rerolls to hit.
Yep.
Any army-wide -1 to hit, like Skitarii Hunter cohort, is going to be brutal. You have 1 CP +1 to wound against monsters and vehicles, but nothing more than that, and your strength generally caps out at strength 10. That being said, with all of those qualifiers, damn, this army be moving fast and firing a lot of shots.
Yep.
And yes, you don't have rerolls. Okay. Sure.
It is what it is. You're going to do damage.
Yes.
How much is the question?
Yeah, that's fine. You have more shots. If you don't kill it with the first unit, shoot it with the next 5. and it'll probably find its way to being dead.
So if you like this style, this is probably going to be the detachment for you. It is not really rewarding you running too many other things, but you want fast vehicles that do damage.
Yep. And you can still crack big high toughness stuff with like Grandmasters rerolling hits and wounds.
Yep.
In combat. So you still got that on lock. Don't worry.
All right, and we'll move on to the last detachment.
All right, we got the Augurium Task Force. So this has a kind of a weird detachment rule, which modifies how your army rule works. From the second battle round onwards, at the start of your movement phase, if you did not pick up the maximum number of Grey Knight units from your army using the Gate of Infinity ability, so in Strike Force, if you picked up 2 or fewer, then in your movement phase, you can select a Grey Knight's unit that is on the battlefield that could have been selected using the Gate of Infinity ability, remove that unit and put it into strat reserves. So essentially it means one of your Gate of Infinity targets can be chosen after you've seen cards, after you've seen, your board state and everything. It's fine. It's not the biggest deal. I would have thought this could be like an enhancement or something, honestly.
Yeah. It doesn't feel like a detachment rule.
Does not feel like a detachment rule. And it's cute, but it modifies the army rule rather than adding a new dimension to what the army does. So not the biggest fan starting out, honestly. Grimoire of Conjunctions, which is a sick enhancement name. All right. Grey Knight's model only. Once per battle at the start of the fight phase, the bearer can use this enhancement. If it does, until the end of the phase, add 4 to the strength characteristic of melee weapons equipped by the bearer.
Grandmaster,
I suppose. Grandmaster can go up to like ridiculous strength 13 or something with 8 attacks, I guess. So he goes up to strength 13, AP2 damage 2 once a game with 8 attacks. It's cute.
It's funny.
It's very funny. You probably will take this though. +4 strength is very wacky. I don't really see a Grandmaster weapon that gets better with this, honestly. I mean, strength 18 hammer is pretty good, but you're full rerolling to hit and wound, so you don't really need it. It's super wacky. Shield of Prophecy. Once per battle, at the start of the battle round, the bear can use this enhancement. If it does, until the end of the battle round, +2 toughness to models in the bear's unit. This can be anybody.
That is quite good.
Yeah, that is very solid. Toughness 7 Terminators we've seen are very good.
Death Shrouds,
especially if they heal. Toughness 10 Dreadnot, if your opponent's about to put like a bunch of Meltas into it, is pretty solid. You probably do take this.
Yeah.
1 foot in the future, Grey Knight's model only. Each time the bear's unit is set up in your reinforcement step, the bearer can use this enhancement. If it does, the bear's unit can make a normal move of up to d6 inches, and until the end of the turn, the bear's unit is not eligible to declare a charge. Again, like the stratagem before, or the enhancement before, or whatever.
The ephemeral tome.
Yeah. Fade and Fire, a lot worse than Fire and Fade, and because it's an enhancement, it has to go on a character. If this was a stratagem, this would be really, really good, because you drop strikes down, then move them d6 onto an objective, right? Even there, you roll the 3, you're not getting on the objective, right? That sort of thing. But it has to go on a character, which means it has to be an expensive unit. You probably put this on a Grandmaster, drop him down, move him d6 to get angles, and shoot people. That's the best I can think of this, because you're not going to drop this down to go contest an objective for like 250 points. You're just not doing it. You'll find a different way to do it if that's what you really feel like doing. Doomseer's Amulet. Grey Knight's model only. Each time the bearer's unit is set up in the reinforcement step, the bearer can use this enhancement. If it does, select one enemy unit within 12 inches invisible. That enemy unit must take a battle shock check -1. It's okay.
Cute.
It's cute. The fact that you get to see it in your movement phase is very helpful. But you've already probably set up your charges at that point. Still pretty helpful. All right, stratagems. Aggressive Anticipation. 1 CP in your shooting or fight phase, a psyker unit from your army not been selected to shoot or fight yet. Until the end of the phase, every time you make an attack, you can ignore weapon skill, ballistic skill modifiers, and any modifiers to the hit roll. Now, weapon skill and ballistic skill modifiers don't really exist right now.
Yeah,
I can't even think of one off the dome because...
It used to be the Death Guard army roll, but they changed that to just be minus to hit.
Yes. So now it's 1 CP, ignore -1 to hit, but oftentimes -1 to hit is a stratagem that they can pop in response to you. So you have to pop this ahead of time.
Yep.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. I'm just going to move on from that. weapon skill and ballistic skill modifiers are a thing they love to ignore. Right? They love to throw in ways to ignore weapon skill and ballistic skill modifiers, but they don't exist. Like they're just a ghost. They're not real. They can't hurt you. They don't exist out there. I'm sure there's like one or two in the entire game, and that's it. But that's it. Yeah. Why do they keep trying to ignore these things? I don't know. Appointed Hour. In your shooting phase or the fight phase, you can spend a CP, a psycho unit from your army that has not been selected to shoot or fight. Every time a model in your unit makes an attack, an unmodified hit roll of 5+ scores a critical hit. That's great, but not a lot of lethal or sustained hits in this book.
No, it's that one detachment which you can't access.
Yeah, you can't access it with this. It's like, all right, I took a Brother Captain.
The Brother Captain, there's not much sustained at all.
That's kind of it, honestly. So, okay. Sure, I guess I could take a heavy silencer. I'm not going to do that. I don't know what the point of that is. Forewarned Evasion, 1 CP. In your opponent's shooting phase or the fight phase, just after an enemy unit is selected its targets, one Walker unit from your army has been selected as the target of one or more of those attacks, is -1 to be hit. Okay, that's pretty solid. Necessary End, 1 CP. In the fight phase, after an enemy unit has selected its targets, an infantry unit that was selected as one of the targets, until the end of the phase, every time a model unit is destroyed, if that model is not fought this phase, roll a d6. If the result is greater than the current battle round number, do not remove the destroyed model, and it can still fight. So on turn 2, it's a 3-up fight on death. On turn 3, it's a 4-up fight on death. On turn 4, you're probably not going to use it. Yeah. Which, that's fine. Like, if stuff pops off on turn 2...
Usually Grey Knights want to be better in the early game because they're more naturally good in the late game.
Yeah, as screens fall apart, and they can teleport around. It's all right. It's weird. A lot of weird stuff in this army. Yeah. Redirected Strike, 1 CP. End of your command phase, a psyker unit from your army not within engaged range of one or more enemy units can be placed into strategic reserves. Not even remotely something I needed in this detachment. Detachment rule already gives this to you, essentially, right? It's in your movement phase. Now, end of your command phase, I can also go into strat reserves. I don't...
It allows you to sticky an objective and then go back in?
Yes, it lets players utilize abilities that retain control of objective markers and react to their missions and objectives with this unit.
Specifically, mostly going to be a strike squad. Gets to sticky something and then goes back and can do something else.
Yeah, if this was the stratagem and then the detachment was something else, awesome. I'd be like, this is pretty good. This is pretty neat. But the problem, why do I have a stratagem that does the same thing as my detachment rule, which also only affects one unit? And also does make the army rule worse because you only get to lift 2. In order to benefit from your detachment rule. So, like, I just don't care. Right? I just don't. This is not something I needed here.
It really should have given you additional way, like the other one where you can get additional ways to put things in teleport strike.
Yeah. Mirage of Echoes. Infinity. The reinforcement step of your opponent's movement phase just after an enemy unit is set up. One Grey Knight Psycho unit from your army that is within 12 inches of that enemy unit and is not within engaged range of one or more enemy units can be placed into strategic reserves. So... this is, you go into strategic reserves if they have deep struck within 12 inches of you.
It's cute. If they're going for some charges against you or trying to get...
some weird shooting angles.
You're just like, oh, I'm not even there.
It's a good strat. It's a good strat.
Yeah. I mean, it's very good against like a GSC army, for instance, where they're going to come down and try and do damage with you, and you're like...
I'm actually away. Yeah.
This is the end?
This is that. That's the end. That's the end.
Yeah, they brought in everything at that point. Or is it they bring in one unit?
Oh, no, it's just after an enemy unit is set up.
So they could bring in some nonsense and then wait you out.
Well, the worst part of this would be is if they brought in some nonsense, you leave, and then they can deep strike where that unit was.
Yes, you have to wait it out, and then they're like, oh, cool, we're just going to go somewhere else.
Yep. What it's really good on is something like Death Shroud. Death Shroud dropped down to get a 6-inch charge, and you're like, no, sir. And then you rapid 12.1 away, and you walk up and charge them. That's very good. It is a good stratagem. It's a little bit weird, right? There's a little too much qualification in a lot of these rules here that make me not really want to use the stratagems or enhancements or detachment rule. This detachment feels pretty lackluster to me.
Pretty lackluster, because at least the other lackluster one had mists in it.
Yeah, this has mists, but only if they deep strike at you, which is by far the lowest use case of it. Right, that was something in the past you used to be able to do, but not anymore. Also, I just want to call out again 1 CP crit 5s where you have one source.
It's a great rule, by the way. Crit 5 is awesome.
You have one source of lethal hits in your army? It's the Brother Captain? So what are we doing? Like, actually, why have that be a strat? Right? You have crit 5s in an army that does not have lethal or sustained hits. Sure, I guess. And I'm like really reaching because you probably don't want Brother Captains in your army.
No,
They're not good.
Yeah.
So like, why have a strat for crit 5s on an army that doesn't have sustained or lethal hits? I don't know, man. You're not going to take this detachment, I think.
So how would we rank them here? So we've gone through the different detachments. I think we're both probably on the same page that the first detachment, the Brotherhood Strike, is the best one out of the Codex ones.
I think probably. The fact that you can pick up and drop 4 Dreadnights and then shoot your opponent with real ones hit and
Still
wound
get rerolls.
is really nasty.
You have good flexible stratagems, the fallback stratagem being the best one. Like, it's a quite solid detachment. And then I would probably put the vehicle one as the next, because Grey Knights ultimately are not really a trade army. You can't really play that style that well in most of these detachments.
No, you're too expensive for that. I like how you
have to do damage.
In the Brotherhood one, the real ones hit and wound one, you can have a unit walk up, kill, and then mists out when your opponent falls back from you. That means you're not trading, you're just taking, which is great. And you also can test their objective off them, which is also sick. So I really like that dynamic there as well, which helps out the expensive Grey Knights. After that, I'd probably put Warpbane after the vehicle one. Warpane's really techy with its rules, man. Like, you get full rerolls to hit.
You don't have too much else.
That's kind of it. Honestly.
You get the Purifier strat.
You get the Purifier strat, which is replicated now on their data sheet.
Mm-hmm.
So that strat just kind of feels... You know, they were saying they wrote the codexes with they wrote those detachments with the codexes in mind, and this does not feel like that. Giving Purifiers full rerolls to wound, lol, imagine. They have full rerolls to wound. What are we doing?
I'd probably put Banishers as the next one, the one where you get the lethal, the sustained.
I guess.
Yeah.
It's a pretty steep drop off.
Yep. And then, which is worse between Augarium and the...
They really feel like
Conclave.
We can put them down at the bottom together. Yeah. They feel like a bunch of rules that are specifically designed as joke rules that don't work. Like, I can fly, but only on days that don't end in Y, right? Like, oh, you get it, it's from Mystery Men, I'm invisible, but only when no one's watching, right? Stuff like that. It just feels weird. Like, why did they qualify so many of those rules into being useless? Fade and fire? What are we doing? Crit 5s on an army without sustained hits or lethal hits? It feels like a joke. Ooh, I'm going to give your detachment crit 5s. I'm going to do it. But I'm not going to give you any lethal or sustained.
That stratagem should just be in the lethal sustain, the Banisher's detachment.
Yeah.
It should just be in there.
I don't know why it isn't, because that's the only source other than the Brother Captain, as far as I can tell.
It honestly feels like for some of these, they wrote all the stratagems, and then they threw them into a hat. And then they just started picking them out, because like some of them don't make sense in the place that they are in.
The crit 5s in an army that actually does not have sustained or lethal hits blows my mind. Like, that is just bad
They have
design.
it in a detachment. It's just not in that detachment.
Yeah. I mean, maybe I'm missing something. Is there a unit in there that has a lot of sustained and lethal hits?
I don't think anything natively has it. The Brother Captain gives it to his unit, and that's...
Woo!
Yeah.
Dude, the detachment whose detachment rule is you can pick up a unit in your movement phase instead of before, which, by the way, doesn't matter. Like, who cares, right?
It's cute.
It's cute. You can sticky the objective, then pick them up, which the strat also does, by the way. Like, why do I have 2 different abilities that both let me pick a unit up after my army rule gives me an ability that lets me pick units up? What is happening here? Why are we writing detachments like this?
The book, for me, feels very top-heavy, in that the stuff that is good is extremely good.
Yes.
And the stuff that is, like, mediocre or not good, it's very, here's the really good stuff that we're going to take, and then here's the rest of the book that we're just never going to really interact with. Because, you think about the stuff at the top, okay, the Dreadnought, both sets of them, amazing. Paladins, amazing. Terminator's still very good. Strike squads, you're always going to have some of them.
Purifiers,
very, very good, even outside of Warpbane. And then a couple of the characters stand out. Like, the Librarian's pretty damn solid. The Grandmaster, of course,
Crow
being very good, and Crow with his Purifiers.
Crow's very good.
Those guys stand out. You look at the next layer of stuff,
It's like actual garbage.
I have no incentive to take really purgation squads or some of this other stuff. There's a couple detachments like the vehicle one, you are incentivized to take a Storm Raven, but outside of that, those basic vehicles don't really matter.
And a lot of that is because the Storm Raven is just...
It's better than...
It feels misprinted.
It just has better guns than it should, which is great because you can use it.
Yeah, they pulled it across from the Index, right? The Index had better guns than the Space Marine one for actually no reason. And then it still has better guns.
Yeah.
So, like, you just play with that, right? You play with the stats, and they are what they are, but that feels like something that's going to get FAQ'd, but just hasn't for 2 years.
I don't think they've realized. Grey Knights just have better vehicles. They technically do. The Forges of Deimos are...
I suppose.
They really actually do. We're supposed to have the best weapons in the Imperium.
So Storm Strike missile launchers.
Or at least with AdMech.
Yeah. I don't know, man. The book's a little weird. It is very good. If you had an army before, the same exact models are good now. Probably with the same exact loadouts too.
I think for me, from my perspective... I think the single strongest thing about this book is that we have a viable detachment that rewards you for actually taking infantry plus Dreadnights that isn't Warpbane.
Yes.
Because you can take it in Warpbane and it's pretty good, but you don't have a lot of stratagem support for that stuff.
No.
But in the Brotherhood Strike here, you are rewarded for taking both, just like Warpbane, but in addition, you actually have synergy.
Yes. I mean, Warpbane feels a lot like those weird detachments. It just has a good detachment rule,
yes,
right?
Which holds it up.
Full rerolls to hit, which is crazy. But then the stratagems are all like weird and teched into oblivion, right? Like you have to be in hallowed ground at this timing in order to do this thing. And if it's a Tuesday, then you get a 4-up invul on your infantry units.
Yeah.
Right? Like, okay, sure. I guess.
You get 6-inch deep strike and charge, but not with Terminators. And it's like, okay,
all right,
it's like,
cool. And you also need to set that up because in the movement phase, you want to flip to control of objectives. So you have to deep strike a Purifier unit in first. It's really weird. And I got to interact with that when we were, I was working with our new wonderful, amazing camera guy, Mark, who has literally just started 40K. He went to his first tournaments like the last 2 weekends. And he's playing Grey Knights. He loves Grey Knights. And just so happens that their book is like right on the horizon. Awesome. Sick. Problem being, he wanted to play Warpbane because they did more damage. And just going back through those stratagems with him, I had to be like, okay, listen, I know this is your first game ever, but try to remember that you need to be in hallowed ground, but hallowed ground is from purifiers, or if you control objectives, but the objectives flip end of phase, so you can't actually deep strike off them. But if you flip them, you then need to flip them for your shooting phase, so then you can get rerolls to hit and shooting, but not in your opponent's, and you have to be wholly in. So if you're partly in your opponent's deployment zone, it doesn't count. And just forget that strat. It basically doesn't exist. And that other strat, don't use that either. Just shortcut it. Don't work with those. Like the detachment feels a little whack.
I think what will need to happen to open up that like bottom half of this army is steep cuts to units like Purgation Squad. Like they're already relatively cheap for 2-up save bodies, but they need to be really cheap.
Yeah, or AdMech style like data sheet changes.
Yeah,
right. AP2 ignores cover side cannons would go pretty hard. Because they hit on 4s with no rerolls right now. So, they need help.
No more indirect, holding them back, making them more expensive. So I think this is a book where the best stuff is going to feel amazing and it's great, and it's awesome. But I think the internal diversity of the book is not going to be as amazing as it should be at the start.
Now, luckily, it's the same units it was before. So if you've already bought into a Grey Knights army for 10th edition,
yeah, you're good. You're right.
You're set. You still have, Dreadnights with incinerators and side cannons and a hammer. How daring. You can put a sublimator on your Grandmaster, but if you already have an incinerator equipped, it's still just as
still
good.
Fine.
Yeah. So, there at least is that, right? You don't have to rip all the arms off your dudes or whatever. I think get the best loadouts.
If you're looking for an exciting new playstyle, the most likely thing is that Paladins are back in such a big way, and we really weren't running them. Typically, Terminators were run more often, but even then, in a lot of builds like Warpbane, a lot of builds were just the Dreadnights plus Purifiers and that type of thing. I think Paladins are going to come back in a big way, which is exciting because they are our elite, banger unit.
Yeah, Paladins being cool is... that's just should be what happens.
They're just the coolest.
Right? The fact that their damage 3 is like just crazy levels of damage. It's the meme of the guy from Yu-Gi-Oh! Being like, just getting blown away.
Shadow realmed.
And I'm personally excited to hit people with them and then disappear back into the warp from whence they came, or the shadow of Mount Anarch. So, all right.
Yeah.
A very exciting book, though. Just a little weirdly written around the edges, I will say.
Absolutely. All right, so we have the MFM here for the Grey Knights. Now, of course, as always, this is a preview to an upcoming MFM. It might not end up being the final points, but very likely they'll be very close to what we're going to talk about here. So we're going to analyze this and see how we're feeling about the Grey Knights. Overall, I was really excited about the Codex. I think there's some really nice datasheet upgrades and some really interesting rules across the book. Let's see how the points round out here. So we have the Brother Captain coming in at 90 points. He gives out the lethals. He's a solid character. 90 points is probably a little pricey for what you get for him, but he's an okay option. Then we have the Brotherhood Champion. He ended up losing that fight first access, but has advance and charge. Unfortunately, he really can only go in strikes in the purgation squads, so he's not really advancing charging on an amazing unit, but at 70 points, he's decently cheap. I wish he would have kept advance and charge with fight first. Then we'd be talking about a unit. But I think he's ultimately not going to really make too many lists, is my impression to start.
That's unfortunate.
Next up, we have the Brotherhood Chaplain here. He went down 10 points, so he's only 65. He used to be 75 in the current book. However, he's competing for one of the worst characters in the game. His one useful rule, which was +1 to wound, is gone, replaced by another useless rule. So he's pretty bad. I don't think you're going to see him. He could maybe like 50 points, and I don't think you would take him because he's just taking up a character slot, and you need those.
Yeah, was he 65 points for reroll charges?
Yes.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
You get lead 5 by him. Yay.
None of that actually matters.
And an unbattle shock once per game. Yay.
Yeah, that's a truly atrocious character. I don't think at 50 you'd see him.
Yeah, there's really nothing helping a data sheet that bad, unfortunately. However, the Librarian. Now, Librarians were 120 points. Really expensive in the current rules. However, he's going to drop down to 80. Of course, Vortex of Doom is no longer I'm going to roll to see how many mortals I do. It's a consistent gun that he has, which I like a lot more. And at a 40-point drop down to 80 points, he gives your Terminators that 18-inch loan up. I really like this guy. I think he is an excellent character, and 80 points, very competitive.
Absolutely. 80 points is
80 points.
Is truly good for that sort of thing. We're going to find out where he lands. Because it could be that you don't want that effect. And then 80 points is like, it's reasonable, but you don't really need him. Or it could be he's very good, and then 80 points lets you actually leverage that dynamic of your list, which I think is really good.
Yeah, me too. Brotherhood Tech Marine. So he got the updated Tech Marine kind of data sheet for Space Marines. He's at 70 points. A lot of the Tech Marines we've started to see around that 60-point category, or even 55 in some cases. And his rule is embarrassingly bad. It's the free heroic. If a vehicle is charged near him. He should definitely be the same cost as, the Iron Priest or some of these other guys. 70 points is too much for him. You're definitely not going to see him, in my opinion. Then we have the Brotherhood Terminators. So they changed a bit in their datasheet rule, but they're still very good. Now they open up a 4-model unit. They're going to be 40 points a model, so the 4-man is 160, the 5 is 200, and then the 8 is 320, and then you have a 10-man option as well at 400. So there's a bit more flexibility in how many models you can run. This is really important for Grey Knights because we're such an elite army. A lot of lists, you'll have that weird 60 or less point gap, and you can jam enhancements in there, but sometimes it's better just to have, enhance a different unit. And here I could say, all right, I'm going to go down to a 4-man Terminator unit instead of the 5-man. That opens up 40 points. Now I can go from the 60-point gap to 100, grab a Calidus Assassin or something like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's very significant, in my opinion. And the 4-mans do get to have the Ancient and the Northesium in the Apothecary. So, yes, you have one less model, but honestly, as just a little bit of holding an objective with a really durable healing back OC3 unit, that's damn good. I like this a lot.
You still need to come correct if you want to kill that unit, right? Yeah. You still need to bring the sort of thing that would attack a 5-man unit, but you only paid 160, and it'll still heal. It'll still be OC3.
Yep.
That's a very good unit.
They still beat up trash with 4 models. You don't need the 5th one there. You just don't unlock the extra special weapon that happens at the 5-man. So if you want the extra incinerator, you will. But the Ancient guy always gets to have his special weapon. All right, next up, we have Castellan Crow. He's coming in at 90 points, which is his current points value, but Purifiers are dramatically better now, so I'm willing to pay that tax. He had gone up 15 points a couple MFMs ago, and I was like, this is kind of annoying. But now, with the new rules to purifiers, okay, I understand it. He's really, really good, and he benefits a lot from a couple of the different detachments, like the Brotherhood Strike and the Banisher's detachment. He's very good in those.
Yes. Yeah. No, he is incredible, actually.
He is excellent.
Purifiers got a lot better.
I wish there was a generic version of him to go in Purifiers so you could get enhancements in there, but man, that's just a great unit.
Yeah, for sure.
Grandmaster, he stays at 95 points. He no longer has the Ignore Mods aura. Instead, he has access to the additional attacks when he comes in combat. At 95 points, he's decently expensive, but for your CP reduction with a lot more stratagems to choose from, still very good ability.
Yeah, absolutely.
Especially on big durable units you want to keep alive or do damage, you're going to be spending strats on them. Grandmaster and Nemesis Dreadnot, so he has been updated. He has some new weapon options. Mostly you're probably looking at the Sublimator for the shooting side of things. He goes up 10 points, or 15 points, from 210 to 225. He gets a better rule where his CP reduction actually works, which is very significant, and his full rerolls can work on multiple of them at the same turn. So 225 I think is very pricey. Dreadnots have been expensive, and with decent reason. When you can run 6 of them, they get oppressive against a lot of different armies. But at the same time, it does mean if you go heavy on Dreadnots, you are going to start running out of points pretty quickly with how expensive the other units are. So it's probably a fair price. He may be a little bit overcosted. We'll end up seeing, especially since some of the new combat weapons don't dramatically enhance his damage or anything in a different way.
Or enhance it at all.
Yeah, or enhance it at all. So he probably should be relatively close to a regular Dreadnot, but 15 extra points is not a huge deal.
No,
ultimately.
for sure.
Then we have Grandmaster Volis. He was 95 points in the current MFM. He's going up to 110. He gets a gun that's pretty decent. It's only 2 shots, though. And then his rule changes where he doesn't get more mortals against a demon unit. Okay, whatever. But he effectively is the same kind of character, slightly better. Why did he go up? He went up, 15 points here? Probably didn't need to. You never saw him before. I don't think you're going to see him when he's competing with some other good characters like the Librarian. Then we have the Interceptor Squad. Didn't change. It stays exactly the same. 130 points, 260 for the 10-man unit. If you want something that can fire and fade and be natively fast, get an area denial easily for you turn 1 or go beat up a trash unit, it's a good unit to do that. But it is competing with Purifiers, which is going to be that kind of power armor role that you're looking for.
Yeah, and Purifiers are cheaper, notably.
Yeah, 5 points. So we got Land Raiders, regular Land Raider at 240, the Crusader at 220, and the Redeemer at 285. They stay the same, no surprises there. And then you have the regular Dreadnot at 210. That's currently what it is right now. It keeps its amazing rule of advance and shoot and charge. One of the best data sheet rules you can have in the game. Its weapons are still good. And then there's a new play style to buff the Dreadnots even further in the Sanctic Spearhead. So no surprise that they leave them at the current cost. And if Grey Knights need a little bit of help, I could definitely see them coming down a little bit more. Because they used to be 185 when they got the weapons upgrade, which was probably too cheap. But
yes,
they're very good right now. Still. Paladin Squad. So these are ones that we're definitely looking at because they got an amazing data sheet upgrade with that +1 damage on the charge. They get the same treatment as Terminators where they can be 4, 5, 8, or 10 model units. Once again, I think this is hugely impactful because once again, it's, Grey Knights have a hard time fitting enough units in, but playing with the points, okay, I'm going to take 2 4-man Paladin Squads. At 45 points a model, I'm saving 90 points now. I can get a Crow in my list. I can get, a whole different unit, which is very important. And I absolutely love them. I think the 4-mans are great. I think the 5-mans are great. 5-man is where you open up the 2 special weapons. So you can run 3 incinerators in a 5-man, 2 on the regular guys, 1 on the ancient. And I think these guys are fantastic. Really competitive. I'm really looking at it running a couple of those 4-mans in pretty much every list. Yep. Really good beater.
I think in certain detachments also where you can, teleport away if your opponent interacts with you.
Yep, like Banishers.
I think that a 10-man isn't even off the table here because you go in, you fight, and then you disappear. Mm-hmm. And so you never actually get punished.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's 3 detachments that do that. You have the new version of Miss, which is in Banishers. You have the if your opponent falls back from you in the Brotherhood Strike. And then you have Sigil access in Sanctic.
That's very good.
3 different ways to run this unit, which is very good. Purgation Squads. They stay at 125 and 250 for a 10-man unit. This is a big miss from Games Workshop. They severely neutered the one interesting thing that Purgation Squads did, and they gain very little. They didn't get weapon upgrades, which is what I think they should have gotten. I think the Psy Cannon should be AP2 ignores cover as well from the basic infantry one. Without that, this unit is bad. It's almost never going to be seen, in my opinion. It is much better to run the next unit, which we're going to talk about, which is Purifiers at 125. Oh my God. God, can we just look at these two data sheets and just, what is this? Maybe Purgations become useful around like 100 points, but they need a steep decrease. Purifiers, on the other hand, are money in the bank. Wow. Previously, you basically only saw them in Warpbane, where they have a lot of stratagem support. Now they are just, every Grey Knight list is going to run some amount of Purifiers because they are our most consistent and cheapest damage resource.
Yeah, well, Grey Knights now do a lot of damage in combat, and Purifiers are a significant part of that. I mean, the best strat probably in Warpbane is, full rerolls to wound for Purifiers, and guess what? They stapled that to their datasheet. I don't even remember what their datasheet rule was before.
It was, if they were below starting, they get +1 to hit. If they were below half, +1 to wound.
Wow, that's truly
not the
truly
enemy,
legendary.
themselves.
Oh yes, I know. If there's 2 Purifiers left, you better watch the heck out.
Yeah.
And that's just not the case anymore. Now they hit an objective and they cleanse it. Their psychic weapon wounds on infantry on 2s. It is now +1 AP, and they reroll 1s to wound all the time. So once they hit you with their purifying flame, they're gonna wound you. And it's AP2, and it's ignores cover, and you're just taking a lot of damage there.
You take them in Brotherhood Strike. You come in, you're rerolling 1s to hit, 1s to wound. You 6-inch deep strike them. They clear every screen in the game. It's very, very good.
Very, very good.
Purifiers, huge upgrade for them. Razorback, he gives out the +1 AP now instead of the reroll wounds. So probably like a little bit worse than he was, but stays at 85. You really just don't see the Razorback, unfortunately. You can run him in Warping because he's a las cannon and a hunter killer missile, but
dude,
with rerolls, it's just like, okay.
I just don't see a reason.
They're mediocre.
Yeah.
They would be much better if there were more things that could pop out of them that can do damage. Like making the Incinerator AP2 is just not really worth it. The Psy Cannon is, but can't ignore cover, so it's
also a Rhino chassis that has to see you in order to do its thing. And Rhino chassis die really fast in today's meta.
Yeah, they do. The Rhino, speaking of which, is 80 points. This is an embarrassment. Frankly, his datasheet rule is absurdly ridiculous. I don't know how you could come up with a rule as bad as that. He should be the cheapest Rhino in the game. We're looking at T-Sun's Rhinos. You get +1 to hit, +1 wounds, psychic weapons out of it. It's like
Death Guard Rhinos.
Reroll wounds.
Yeah, like reroll wounds or some nonsense.
This World Leaders, you drop out. If your opponent gets close to you.
Sure, why not?
How is this? Games Workshop, please. This is embarrassing. This is this and the Chaplain are ridiculous.
It's a 6-inch aura of units wholly within 6 inches, which is okay. Get a 6 of Feel No Pain against mortal wounds only. That is like 2 steps more specific than they needed to be.
He has to be worse than the Chaplain. At least the Chaplain is a Terminator body.
I guess.
And cheaper.
I don't know.
They're both terrible.
They're both really bad. I think we can leave it at that.
Speaking of bad, Stormhawk Interceptor and the Storm Talon gunship stay exactly the same at 160, 170. You never see them. However, the Storm Raven gunship, which you will see in Sanctic Spearhead, is at 280. It is straight up better, and Games Workshop confirmed this in the recent update. It has better Storm Strike missiles than the Space Marine version, and Games Workshop in their FAQ said that is intended.
And they have an extra shot on their heavy plasma cannon.
Yes, and it's
instead
blast.
Of D3, it's 3, still blast though.
So it's just better for the same exact points, and it's excellent in the Sanctic Spearhead, so I expect to see those in that detachment. You could run them in the other ones, but that's where it really shines. Warpbane 2. Then we have the Strike Squad, Humble Strike Squad. It stays at 120, 240 for the 10-man. No surprises here. It's a great unit, sticky objectives, good battle line OC. Very good unit. You're probably seeing 1 to 2 of them in pretty much every list. And then finally, we have the Venerable Dreadnot. It's at 140, which once again is just why. They're like Hellbrutes are like, what, 120?
120.
This is a lot worse than a Hellbrute. I don't know why it's 140. It's just bad. It's like 30 points cheaper than Bjorn the Fell-Handed, who's 1,000 times better. Just another... just not caring about this data sheet, I guess.
It's a box knot, and most box knots are pretty bad.
Pretty bad. He has to be around 100 or sub 100 for me to even consider running him. So, unfortunately, he's just overcosted. And then the Grey Knight's Thunderhawk stays at 805.
That's in the thing?
That's in the thing.
Cool.
I don't think you're ever going to see that, but the other Forge World units that Grey Knights used to have, like the Banisher versions of the Land Raider and the Razorback, kind of with the Psy Cannons, they're gone. The detachment enhancements all stay the same as the Codex, and pretty much all of them are reasonably priced. Maybe they could change 5-10 points in the future, but they're all around what you would expect. So overall, how I'm feeling about this, I think the big wins here are the fact that our best data sheets either got points buffs or are just staying around the same points and are very competitive. I think our worst data sheets didn't get any help here. That's going to result in a very have and have-nots version of Grey Knights, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, what are you? Are you a Purifier, a Paladin,
A Terminator,
Strike Squad?
a
Strike Squad. You're in the list. You're not. Well, you're probably not.
And same thing.
The Dreadnights are decent.
Yep, Dreadnights are good.
And then the Stormraven gunship is also pretty good.
Yep.
And you're going to see that making up the
that's the core of your list.
Spearhead.
And then you look at the characters and you're like, okay, Crow is an absolute banger. The Grandmaster Dreadnight's great. You have the Librarian. And then the other characters around there just aren't quite as competitive as those ones. So I think one of the big things here is that our best units are going to be seen in all the lists. We're going to have a great time playing Paladins again. We still have our Dreadnights. We've got all our fun Purifiers all over the list now. That's awesome. I love those units. But I think the diversity of Grey Knights is definitely hit by not only the Codex rules, but also now these points as well. Yeah. And I think the other big thing that's missing here is Grey Knights used to have Servitors coming in at 50 points as a cheap option. If you do want cheap non-Grey Knight units, you're going to have to go to Imperial Agent to get them. If you want backfield screens or something that can do an action on an objective for cheap, you're going to have to look outside of this book. There's no internal cheap things. If you look at like Thousand Sons, they have Zangors, they have Zangor Enlightened, they have a variety of cheap things that can do actions for them. Grey Knights don't have those options. You have to take Imperial Agents if you want that. You don't have to. I think there's plenty of competitive data sheets here. But if you want that play style, you'll have to look into Agents.
Absolutely. Well, it's an interesting place to start. If you want to see a game with that in the War Room right now, you can go to the link down below. We have a 3-day free trial you can check out. Go see games with the new Black Templars book, the new Grey Knights book, them against each other. You know,
against other armies. I'm going to be playing against demons, of course.
Of course.
I'm going to try and smash them into oblivion and send them back to the warp. So if you're excited about that, definitely check out The Worm at theworm.vhx.tv with that 3-day free trial. Join our community. Jack and I are going to be in the Grey Knights channel. We're going to be talking up some new list ideas,
Absolutely.
Putting a lot of things into practice. So hopefully you'll join us on this journey with the new book. Thank you so much, everybody, and we'll see you all next time. So long for now.
Bye-bye.